Well, good afternoon and welcome to San Antonio today's football contest between the Trinity University Tigers and the Endicott Goals in Game 2 of our three-game. And for Trinity, it'll be James Natoli on the mound, getting a good look at the Endicott and your screen, joined with and later with Ryan Figert. And Chris, your thoughts on today's contest?
Well, it's just important that the Tigers maintain the momentum that they had yesterday, a convincing win that we saw after kind of a 50-50 start early in the game. The first 4 innings I thought were very evenly played, but the class of the Tigers really showed in the later stages of that game. And, you know, Josh, finally, it's some nice weather, sunny 60s, a little bit windy, but perfect conditions for baseball and hopefully a perfect opportunity for James Natoli to build off what was a career outing for him his last time out.
And the Goals will start off with Christian Allure.
You talked Natoli, obviously, on the hill. The southpaw for the Tigers, nearly a complete game out against Birmingham Southern. 8 1/3 scoreless innings lifted. And the reason for that, obviously, the number of pitches that he threw. When his career high was somewhere in the high 80s. So, obviously, responsibility set in for the coaching staff. And the game as badly as any for Natoli. You don't think about trying to throw a complete game shutout. You just think about trying to do your best here. And if he's able to execute, Josh, the Tigers will be so hard to beat.
Yeah, Natoli taking over the Saturday start. As you mentioned, just absolutely phenomenal last week. And Allaire sends that one into right center, and chasing after it was Mason Meredith, and he lost it in the sun. So that's going to be a leadoff double for Christian Allaire, and brings up Dan Cacciola.
Routine fly ball, usually Meredith so reliable there in center field. Tremendous speed, great reads off the bat as well. But the world when you're in the outfield and you look up and all of a sudden you can't find that little white ball in the sky. So obviously this would be big for Endicott if they can cash in early.
So much of Division III baseball, I think, is about taking advantage of the opportunities when you get them. And we'll see what Natoli has here, now working from the stretch with the man on second. Natoli almost with that complete game. His longest outing as a Tiger. So I've always found it interesting to see what somebody comes. Many would argue is maybe the best game you've had in your collegiate career to this point. And still waiting to kind of find out from James here.
Well, obviously, I think like any athlete, a performance like the one he had his last time out, it builds confidence. And like anybody, when you play well, when you're in form, you can't wait to get back on the hill and do the thing that you enjoy doing so much. Because this one on the ground should be the first out, and it will. I think it's on the flip side as well. You can see guys who are struggling, and sometimes, particularly for pitchers, I heard John Smoltz talk a little bit about this, but certain pitchers, when they're not playing well, and especially bullpen guys, you don't necessarily want your name to be called. You don't want to go out there. You don't want this to be another outing where maybe you get shellacked when things aren't going right. But it's the complete opposite when you're going well. And, the beauty of being a starting pitcher like Natoli, you obviously get to eat up big chunks of the game, but you also have to wait a long time before you get to pitch. So, it's almost like an NFL feel for him. What was this one? My goodness, he just sails this one into center field. It was miscommunication there between the middle infielders who sort of had a half-hearted attempt back to the bag on that pickoff, and Natoli, expecting something different, couldn't stop it. But just to wrap up that unfortunately long-winded point, it's just the fact of the matter is, you put so much thought into every start if you're a guy like Natoli, and when you're playing well, just trust your stuff, and hopefully he's able to build off of that.
Yeah, looking to build off of a slow start will be Brendan McDonald here. He was 0 for 4 yesterday. Starting the junior playing in left field. It's going to be a line shot back up the middle. That'll be an RBI single for Brendan McDonald, and Endicott on the board first, much like they were yesterday.
Took a little bit longer to get offense in yesterday's game, and I mean, think about how this run was manufactured. A fly ball that gets lost in the sky, a pickoff attempt that results in a lollipop throw into shallow center field, and then a routine base hit to the opposite field. That's very much the goal, is just cashing in on the Tigers' sloppy start.
Yeah, taking advantages of the opportunities. That'll bring up John Duffy. Chance to roll 2 here. Duffy's speed will eliminate that, but they do get the lead runner McDonald out at second base. And there'll be 2 down here in the inning.
You know, particularly at this level, execution is everything, and every coach will tell you it's so important to make sure you get at least one when you're trying to turn the double play. Wasn't the best throw from the third baseman, just a little bit low, and I think that's why it took about a half second for Morrison to get the ball out of his glove. But listen, a good enough throw to make the play, to get the lead out. 2 outs, runner at first. Pitcher of Natoli's, oh, here we go, pickoff. Oh, couldn't hold on to it, though, could Wisniewski. Boy, unreal start for the Tigers. How about that? 3 mistakes in the top of the first inning, and they should have been out of this inning 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and a little bit of tough luck here. I mean, we should have been out of the inning without basically, potentially the run, wouldn't have scored here with everything going back to it. You get out of the inning, and Natoli's still cruising on his scoreless streak so far this year, but the run does come across. Now it's time for James to settle in, and we'll see what he has to offer.
Yeah, and it's hard to ask much more from Natoli, to be honest with you, the start from the game. You look at the balls that were put into play, and you look at the plays as they develop. Like you said, this should have been out of the inning, no problem for Natoli here. And, all you can do as a pitcher there is forget about it. Just flush it out of the back of your mind and just focus on the next guy. And, if he's able to get through Brennan, okay, you go into the dugout with such a potent offense that Trinity possesses, and you're looking at a 1-run deficit, and you're not really sweating much.
The 1-1 to Brennan. That'll be rolled into right field, and a chance to maybe score another run. And it will be an RBI single. So, again, a little bit of tough luck here for Trinity. And Endicott already outscoring what they did yesterday in the 8-1 loss.
Pretty good approaches as well. Obviously, Natoli doesn't possess the same velocity that Mark Tyndall does. I think he does a fine job, though, changing speeds and locating. And, for Endicott, don't try and do too much. We've seen a couple of well-placed singles. I think we saw in the first game guys maybe swinging out of their shoes a little bit, especially when Trinity started to put some pressure on. And for Endicott, if they're going to be successful in this series, they just need to capitalize on the opportunities as they present themselves.
Chopper in front of the mound, and Natoli will field that one and throw over. So he gets out of the top of the first, but not before. 2 runs on 3 hits. There was an error. There was 1 left on. And a rough start for the Tigers, but they're coming to the dish. See what they've got in just a moment.
Bottom of the first inning here in San Antonio. The Tigers down by 2. Goals cashed in on a handful of Tiger mistakes in that top of the first inning, and so now the offense needs to get to work against the left-handed senior pitcher, Liam Burke. 2-2 last year, 34 1/3 innings pitched for the Gulls. He made 8 starts, 11 appearances in total here for this Massachusetts side. Burke from Westwood, a major in sport management. And he will have his first pitch to Logan Morrison, poured over the inside corner. That is strike 1. The Tigers line up like this today. Logan Morrison obviously leading it off, then Jake Martin, followed by John Tucker, Michael Goodrich, who homered yesterday. Dallas Binder gets the start today for the Tigers. Jack Wisniewski, Blake Johnson, Jack Vonderhaar, Mason Meredith, and on the hill for the Tigers, not hitting, but we talked a little bit about James Natoli, and we'll talk about him more back in the second. Took a little bit of time for the Tigers to get their offense going yesterday, as this is an excuse-me swing by Morrison, and easy comebacker to the pitcher Burke for the first out. 1 gone for Jake Martin. Endicott, the Gulls in their first series of the season, obviously in Massachusetts right now, and much of the Northeast. A lot of snow and poor weather has made it difficult to practice, let alone get games in. So the Gulls sought out warmer pastures here in San Antonio, and, well, they saw some of that good old-fashioned San Antonio wind and mist last night. 7 o'clock was the first pitch, and a little bit cooler than I'm sure they were hoping for, although those guys in the afternoon still had short sleeves and shorts out, did the Gulls players, so really proving more ways than one that they know how to brave through some cold weather. But the Gulls today in their navy blue tops, white pants, nice stirrups with a navy primary background, a little green trim as well. It's swung on and fouled back to make the count 1-1 on Martin. Martin, a senior from Edmond, Oklahoma. He has done a nice job. He started all 6 games prior to today. This is his 7th start, obviously. Tigers 5-1 as he swings and misses. And Burke quickly carving through the first couple of batters in this Tiger lineup. There's John Tucker, again in that 3 spot. Once again, Rafe Chomet. An omission from the lineup as he continues to just battle a minor injury. Nothing too serious, but the reason why he's kept out of the lineup is to prevent it from becoming something serious. And Tucker ripping after the first pitch. He fouls it back. It's 0-1. 348 hitter, also making his 7th start is Tucker. Couple of doubles, already 7 RBIs, but most of that done in the second game of the season when he had 5. That's why he was a D3 player, Team of the Week nominee in the opening week of the season against Cortland. Of course, the Tigers, the number 4 team in the country. Endicott unranked. As Tucker a little bit tardy here. The count quickly 1-2. But plenty of offense in this Tiger lineup. That's why the biggest obstacle most of the year, it seems like, for the Tigers is themselves, just sometimes getting in their own way as Burke delivers, and this is a little bit outside. It's 2-2. And we saw a prime example, not of the Tigers getting in their own way yesterday, but in fact the exact opposite. We saw, I think, tremendous patience. The offense had to weather quite a storm from yesterday's starter. And then the offense came in the latter part of the game as this one easily caught by the right fielder for Endicott. That is going to do it after Duffy secures the catch, and we go now to the second inning. It's the Gulls with an early 2-0 lead over the Tigers on the Tiger Network.
Top of the second inning, lefty versus lefty here as Nicholas Perkins will step in for Endicott. 0 for 5 yesterday, but quickly enjoying his Saturday. First pitch single off James Natoli.
We've talked about it, I think, a couple of times, but hitting is contagious, and I think that first inning inspired some confidence in these guys. Obviously, the Gulls scored only one run yesterday, and I think the message is pretty clear going into today. Be aggressive. Look for pitches that you can handle early in the strike zone, and don't be afraid to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and they've definitely looked like a team who is maybe not even aware of the fact that they lost yesterday by a score of 8-1. They've just come out, a little bit of luck on that first at bat, having the ball that should have gone for a fly out, drop for a double. But since then, they've just played so loose, and a lot of baseball is just going out there and having fun.
Obviously, head coach, Brian Haley, he's in his 12th year here, and he's done a good job preparing his guys. Not the easiest travel to go from Massachusetts all the way to South Texas, and obviously the way that the game went yesterday, from a goal perspective, disappointing for a season opener, but to come out with the start that they've had and the energy that they've had in the first inning, and also to have that backed up. I mean, granted, faced three batters, but Liam Burke on the mound to set an early tone like that and, get that quick inning, that sparks energy for a team. And the Tigers need to be wary of that.
1-2 to Matthew McKinley, and he fouls that one back off. McKinley, the 8-hole hitter, playing the role of shortstop today. And baseball's a funny game at times. As the pickoff attempt, Tucker does a nice job of saving that one from getting away from him. Baseball's a funny game in the fact that you can have a guy who, throws very effectively, 8 1/3 shutout innings in his last appearance, comes in, is probably just as effective. This ball rolled up the middle for a base hit. And you just play a different group of guys who are maybe just in tune to playing that type of pitcher. They really see the ball well and they square it up, and they can get to a guy.
Well, it's now 5 hits for Endicott, and the hardest hit ball was the ball to the outfield that we've referenced a couple times. Probably should have been caught. Gets lost in the sky. Nothing you can do about it. But Natoli has not pitched poorly, and it's not like these other base hits have been hit all that hard. It's been an interesting play and a nice play. Heads up from Natoli to get that lead runner at third.
Yeah, Carvajal, not a good bunt as it was right back to Natoli. But we've seen Natoli field his position here off the mound very well so far, and to his credit, that's probably helping him quite a bit more than anything else that he's doing right now, because it's about getting those early outs and just working off of that, and he can build his confidence as he goes from there.
Well, that's 2 bunt attempts in this game. The first by Bald, and obviously that one from Carvalho. And you think about the situation last night where Endicott went with the pinch hitter to try and get a sacrifice bunt down, and they were unsuccessful there. That's 3 times now, and you've gone 0 for 3 against one of the top teams in the country. You can't do that, and that might just be early season rust, but that's got to be a point of emphasis moving on for Endicott. That when you're asked to lay down a sacrifice bunt, 1, you need to put it in play, and 2, you cannot bunt it back to the pitcher, especially having him be able to get that lead runner at third. That is just killer for a team.
Yeah, if you're able to put that off that line back to the mound by even just a few degrees, you force Natoli to have to make a play at an angle, and I don't know if he gets the lead runner on that. He was able to come off his rotation and just walk in front of himself to make that play. 1-1 now. Back top of the order, Christian Allaire. He had that double that we've referenced early on. Chopper right at Tucker. He goes to 2 for the lead runner. And then the back pick on third from Wisniewski. Not going to make it in time. But they do get 1. on a fielder's choice.
What a lovely play from Tucker at first right there. That's such a difficult throw because obviously there's so little room for error with the base runner going to second. You've got to thread that throw almost over the shoulder and into position for Wisniewski to make the catch. And it's a big out as well because second and third with 2 outs, a base hit could potentially bring home 2. Now, a base hit would just bring home 1. Obviously, you hope no runs score in this inning, but all around, I mean, kudos to Tucker. That's really well done.
Yeah, and so many times we've seen plays like that wind up rolling into left field and having runners just advancing and circling around the bases. A nice job of staying poised as he made that delivery. Dan Cacciola grounded out to Natoli in his first at-bat.
Cacciola and Natoli, it sounds like a buddy cop duo from Brooklyn, doesn't it?
We'll see if this one gets picked up for a second season. But for now,
like a pizza chain or something, you would think. It's pretty good. And I can say that I'm a Garagiola, okay, so I know something about that type of industry.
Oh, so you're part of the sequel here.
I mean, I'd like to be. Seems like a successful business venture.
The 2-0, and that'll miss.
But again, we talked about it earlier in the game. These are the opportunities for Endicott in order to pull out wins. They just have to find a way to be more successful when they have scoring chances. And, runner at third and 2 outs, number 2 hitter up. They need to find a way to make this a 3-run lead because there really is no lead safe against the Tigers.
Natoli puts the 3-0 pitch right down the middle and stay alive during this battle. Yeah, you're absolutely right here for the goals. They have to find a way to score this run. I think just even mentally, if they can make it 3-0, it's not about being up 3-0. It's the fact that you are producing when you need to, and that goes a long way. Runner will take off. Called strike, and now you've got that situation where you've got runners on second and third.
Kind of a gutsy situation there to run. Obviously, fortune favors the fact that Natoli went with a breaking ball, but now with the count full, the runner would have been off anyways.
And this one just past the outreached arm of Tucker. Martin's throw is going to be cut off, but that stolen base allows Endicott to extend the lead to 4-0 and a 2-out RBI, and exactly what we were talking about. Have to find a way to make that play, have to find a way to score those runs, and on the full count pitch, he delivers.
Well, it took the words right out of my mouth. The only reason the stolen base there, worth the risk, is obviously if you're able to get a base hit, 1 run becomes 2, and that was probably the hardest hit ball right there. I mean, a 3-2 count, pitch elevated in the zone. That one was barreled up, lined past the first baseman, and, well, you can definitely see it now. Endicott, they came here to play today, and they are certainly full of confidence, and on the other side, it's a quiet-looking group over there in white.
Activity stirring in the Tigers bullpen. Not unexpectedly. Runner goes. This will be a throw. It'll be high. Cacciola with the relatively easy stolen base. And it's 1-1 here to Brennan McDonald. Had an RBI single in his first plate appearance. No, go ahead.
That is the one downside I was going to say with Natoli. He's got a good pickoff move, but it's predicated on him always looking at home plate and trying to fake guys out by lifting that leg up while looking at home and then coming to first. Whereas when you're looking at a runner, you can play a little mind games and kind of keep them closer to the bag at times.
Big cut there from McDonald. He comes up empty. Now 1-2. We had opening night for Endicott last night. Get back to opening day here for them in the under the sun. And the team from just north of Boston probably absolutely loving it here. It's mid-70s, sunny. 2-2 now to McDonald. And for Trinity, I think one of the things that still trying to figure out is where is your staff situated? You've got good arms, but so far in 2019 they've been a little bit inconsistent. But Natoli will get the strikeout here to end the top of the second. But Endicott, they put up a very similar line to the first one. Another 2 runs, 3 hits, no errors, and one left on. We'll be back for the bottom of the second in just a moment. Bottom of the second inning here for Trinity. We'll send to the plate Michael Goodrich. And Goodrich breaking out of his shell here in 2019 yesterday, going 2 for 3, 3 RBI, including a 2-run bomb opposite field. And the first pitch to Goodrich will miss for ball 1. Burke brings that one in now, evens the count.
Yeah, Burke, interesting delivery for this left-hander. You can see his left shoulder as he goes into his windup. Right as he bends, he almost dips that shoulder backwards and then kind of cocks and fires. So it really overemphasizes that over-the-top delivery.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit of a hesitation hitch. And, for some batters, it's this type of a situation where it can just be enough to disrupt the rhythm that you have. Normally seeing that ball come in with some sort of a rhythm. Just that slight stop. Goodrich fouled that one off. It's 1-2 now. That misses, so back to 2-2. One of the things that we mentioned on Goodrich, he hit the opposite field home run. The impressive part about that was that it was a full count opposite field home run. And talking to him a little bit today, said he knew that with the count being full and first base being open, he expected a breaking ball. So he was looking for a curveball, and he got it low and away, and he was able to just kind of throw it out into right field. As that one, whether it hit him or not, it's going to be a walk down to first. Doesn't look like he blew it dead. So Goodrich with the leadoff walk. That'll bring up Dallas Bender. Bender, the designated hitter today, is 0 for 1 coming in off the bench yesterday. Struggling here early on in the season, batting just 100. But an opportunity to get a couple of hacks in, back in the regular lineup now.
Yeah, just changing things up. I think you mix guys in, and that's one way I think you keep players hungry as well. Is no one's guaranteed to start.
That one roped into left field. It'll be a single for Bender, and the Tigers making some noise of their own. Now second and first with nobody out.
Batting sixth,
bring up the sophomore shortstop, Jack Wisniewski.
Well, that's why we've hammered this point home early on for Endicott is when you have your chances, you absolutely have to make the most of them. Because if you think that you're going to hold this Tiger team at home to, say, 1 run or 2 runs, you're crazy. There's no way that's happening. So it looks like the Tigers are in a bit of a fight here. And if they can orchestrate an early response, that would be perfect, not just for the Tigers, but for Natoli as well, to make sure that he goes back out and has an extended start.
Yeah, important for Trinity. Talked about they've got a bullpen, they've got arms that they like, they've got arms that they trust, but you've only got so many arms, and so you don't want to lose a starting pitcher in the second or third inning if you can avoid it. Wisniewski looking for his first hit of this series. He was 0 for 4 yesterday. He's quickly ahead 2-0 on Burke here, and it'll be interesting to see. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. The pitchers were sort of rolling through early on, and then once runners started to be able to get on, and it changed it up from a more of a rhythm off the mound to having to check the runners and go from the stretch. Some of the pitchers just weren't hitting their spots. And we'll see if Burke falls victim to something similar today. As Wisniewski steps out of the box. Nice delivery from Burke there.
Just have to be selective here. 3 balls and 1 strike. If you get the pitch that you want, be ready to do damage. If not, relax, take your base, continue to apply pressure, and that's how baseball's the team game. You don't have to be the hero here. You've got a guy on deck, a very capable hitter. Set the table for him and see what happens.
The 3-1 misses. The bases are full of Tigers. And that'll bring up freshman Blake Johnson.
Batting 7th, third baseman number 20.
What a spot for the first year stepping up here.
Well, say what you want about Blake Johnson. He's a big guy as well. I mean, he's only listed at 6'1", but that's a modest 185 for him. And, for the first year again, don't try and expand the moment here. Just get a good pitch to hit. You know what you're doing at the plate. You've been doing it for a long time. So just do what you know how to do, and more than likely it's going to result in at least a run for the Tigers.
Yeah, and you go up there as a batter. Pitcher's already walked 2, and he's laid one up on a tee for a guy to pull close to down the line. You got to go up there just waiting for the right pitch to hit. And if he doesn't give you one, take an RBI by taking 4 balls and walking 90 feet down to first. We get a mound visit here.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple things. I think he's just trying to give him a little bit of a breather here. This has turned into a pretty stressful inning, and also you just have to reset the mindset right now for Burke, which is we got to start with strike 1, right? So just try and relax and trust the mechanics. It is interesting, though, for Endicott, how much patience do you have in a situation like this? I mean, the first game of the year, the game quickly got out of hand late. Not out of hand, but because it was so late in the game, I think at that point you just kind of had to take your medicine. But now for the goals, you've got a 4-run lead. Do you start to micromanage early and treat this almost like a must-win playoff game, or do you let Burke kind of go with the peaks and valleys of this particular start?
Well, the 3-0 will miss, and it'll be 4-1, an RBI for Blake Johnson. Goes up there and watches 4 pitches come through, and he'll take the statistic. And to the point you're making, they do have Cooper Annabelle warming up here in the bullpen right below us. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they want to make that change. But for the time being, they've at least given notice to their staff to say, hey, let's get at least somebody warmed up, ready to go, in case this one gets out of hand pretty quickly.
Well, and if you're Brian Haley, what do you do? You've now seen your pitcher walk 3 guys, the most recent on 4 straight pitches. As this one catches the zone, it's a difficult spot to be in as a coach because obviously you want your players to play and to learn and to get through situations. But, at the same time, as we talked about last night, this is a results business. You're here for wins. And if Burke is, all of a sudden erratic and can't fix the problem, you can't, it seems, just wait and hope. You've got to make a change.
And one of the guys that can force a change here is Jack Vonderhaar, batting .333 on the year. He was 1 for 3 yesterday. And an opportunity here for the sophomore. He's come in to replace Rafe Shamet. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday where at some point, if he continues to produce the way that he has, you've got to find a spot for him in the lineup. And that's, a pretty tough job here against, for Trinity because you've got guys hitting all over the place. It's not like you can just throw him in as the DH. You've got guys who are, taking the DH role and they're batting near 400 as well. You mentioned it earlier. As guys get an opportunity, they've got to go out there and show what they can do.
Boy, another walk. That's tough right now.
And for Burke, who looks so good in that first inning,
Jack Vonderhaar.
it's got to be frustrating because you go out there and you cruise right through the first 3 hitters, and that'll be it for Burke. It'll be Cooper Annaball. Yeah, as he's asking, you can hear him down there asking for one more in the pen before he heads to the mound. And we'll be back in just a moment and get you caught up on this change. And welcome back. Bottom of the second inning, and for the Tigers, it'll be center fielder Mason Meredith, and he'll be going up against Cooper Annaball. Annaball, as sophomore in his freshman campaign, went 24 2/3 innings at a 3.65 ERA. Gave up 15 runs, though 10 of those earned. Struck out 11 and walked 12. And for Meredith, he was able to kind of break out of a shell yesterday. Went 3 for 4, scored a run, had 2 RBI. Now he'll be taken for a strike. Evens the count 1-1.
So I'm looking at the roster for Endicott, and they have 2 captains named this season. One of them, Dan Cacciola, who obviously had the big hit in the top of the second inning. Can you guess who the other captain is?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be Anibal here.
Not quite.
Not quite. Well, then I'm off.
It's the guy who he just replaced.
That would have been the logical second choice. And Burke looked good to start.
He looked fantastic. But it can be deflating when you see your captain and one of your leaders go out there and you walk 4 guys and here you go. Start the merry-go-round.
They're going to hold up the runner at third, so it's going to be an RBI single. But how about Mason Meredith now?
RBI,
4 for
Mason
5 on
Meredith.
this series. And 3 RBI so far, his first today. And that will take us back to the top of the order with Logan Morrison.
Top
And
of
the
the
Tigers,
order, second baseman number
you know,
19,
sometimes-
Logan Morrison.
sometimes just not overextending it, not scoring that second run, you've mentally left the bases loaded here again. And that can just drive an opposing team crazy. We'll see what Morrison can do as he steps up for the first time with runners on.
Well, I love that base hit by Meredith because sometimes when you have a defensive lapse, and that might be harsh to say about the play with Meredith to start the game, but sometimes that can affect your confidence, and that can make guys press when they come to the plate and try and do too much. And a nice swing, ground ball right back up the middle in a bases loaded situation. That's the perfect approach, and that's exactly what you want to see.
The first pitch, Morrison looked like he was looking for a grand slam. He's got 2 in his career, and the second pitch misses. Count now 1-1. Got 2 home runs, not 2 grand slams, 2 home runs. That one about 54 feet.
I was going to say, that's phenomenal research by our SIDA department to pull up the Grand Slam tally, and then you were quick to correct me, so.
The senior from Temecula, California, been a staple here at second base for the last year and a half, 2 years. Been plagued by injuries in his Tiger career. And that one misses. Now 3-1, and you know, here you go again. Bases loaded, and you're down 3-1 on the count. Can't afford to miss, but you can't afford to, you know, just throw a strike in there. That one will miss. And it is square at
RBI, Logan
4.
Morrison.
Think about the conversation that we had yesterday, right? This snappy start to the game where a lot of balls were being put on the ground. The defense for Endicott, they were making plays. The pitcher was working quickly. Those are recipes for success, and I think for about 65-70% of the game yesterday, Endicott played extraordinarily well, if not with a better side. Here, you know, what does it do for your defense? You're walking guys, you're falling behind, the pace is slow, you've had to make a pitching change. I mean, we're an hour in. Listen, the Tigers, they have no time waiting. They're a patient team. They are one that can provide offense every inning if need be. But this, you can't do this if you're Endicott and expect to win.
Jake Martin comes up now and fouls that one off his foot, and it'll be 1-1. Yeah, and Trinity, you know, when they went down 4-0, it's sort of like, okay, you know, casually go warm up somebody, see what James has, let him finish this out if he can do it. And then it's like, hey, at some time, some point in this game, we're going to get the bats going. And if we don't, then we don't. But the confidence that they will, I think, is one of the things that separates really good teams, teams that, you know, like Trinity has been to a regional about 7 times in the past decade. You know, those are the things that I think just mentally as you come to practice every day, you learn on a consistent basis of, you know, hey, things aren't going well right now. We just keep doing what we do, and things will change. This one shot to third. He goes home with the play, and fantastic job by the third baseman. Bald throwing that one on a perfect strike to Carvalho, and that'll be the first out of the inning.
Well, this could have been a disaster for Endicott if he doesn't make that play because it's a routine ground ball. You're desperately looking for one out, and you're saving a run from going on the board. And an errant throw maybe brings home another run. I mean, it could have been catastrophic given the way things were playing, but a good start now, and hopefully from an Endicott perspective, you get another ground ball, maybe you turn a pair, and okay, we can do some damage control.
John Tucker batting now, and he's down to 333 on the season. And I say down Started off so hot in that opening series against Cortland. Yesterday, Tucker 0 for 4. And he pops this one up. It looks like it's going to get out of play, but not certain it does. So now 1-1 on the count. Tucker, the senior from Houston Memorial, yet to hit a home run in his Tiger career. If you're looking for a good time to do so, now would be the time. Tucker, a very patient hitter, likes to hit line drives. Look for him to see if he can just line one into the gap somewhere in the outfield rather than go for the big swing.
You can always tell when a broadcaster's itching for a grand slam when he starts referencing everyone's home runs tallies. I think that's now 3 batters in a row, and if we can see Goodrich come up, I know that you'll be prepared to bring out last night's nugget.
Well, see, I feel we started talking about the home runs as Goodrich came up to the plate, because he was the Tiger leader back in 2018, and then he rewards us with a 2-run homer that kind of turned the game around.
So you're calling your shot is what you're saying.
Well, I'm hoping to.
Hoping to.
Doesn't mean it's going to happen. I left myself an out here with Tucker saying that he's more of a line drive hitter than somebody who likes to swing for the fences. That one misses high and the count runs full.
Listen, as someone who has done it, it's the worst thing because then you want to call it about 18 times after that and you usually go over. So, but hey, maybe, you know what?
When you win big, you let it roll.
Essentially, you're saying a grand slam's happening in this at-bat. Let's see what happens. Well, you're close.
Unable to do so, but he's going to get hit by the pitch, and that'll be an RBI.
RBI, John Tucker.
So, run scores for the Tigers nonetheless. And the Tigers have the lead at 5-4.
So let's think about how this inning has gone now. As the 10th man comes to the plate, the Tigers have 2 hits. Of the 10 men that have come to the plate, only 1 man has been retired. We're talking about just 1 hit batter and 5 walks. 5 walks, a hit batter, and a couple of singles. That's just killer. Absolutely killer. From the Tigers, the reason I say that, they're not working that hard. I mean, anybody can stand up there and not swing the bat and take 4 pitches out of the zone or get hit in the arm, right? Anybody can do that. I can do that for the rest of my life, I would hope. So to not even say to yourself, we didn't really even challenge these guys in this inning and we gave up 5 runs, potentially more. I mean, that's a gut-wrenching feeling. It really is.
Michael Goodrich steps up, and it's 1-1 to the junior from Gilbert, Arizona. Now he's batting .200 on the season. Kind of got going a little bit last night. Kind of gives it a pretty good hack right there, but he fooled on the pitch. Now 1-2. If you're Anibal, I think at some point you just got to forget what's happened here since you came in, because all the runners are his still. Meredith scored at the last at-bat, and that was the first batter he faced.
I think any coach in this situation would just encourage and anticipate a guy coming into a game and throwing strikes. And if the Tigers are going to rattle off singles and doubles and extra base hits, so be it. You're throwing strikes, you're forcing them to execute, and you're at least giving your defense a chance.
Second at bat of the inning for Goodrich, and he'll be 1 for 1 on the day. After he walked in the first one, he singles that one into left center, and the Tigers score a pair, and they extend the lead now 7-4. Michael Goodrich continuing to hit the ball well and bringing in some more RBIs, now 5 in this series.
And this is the heart of the order here, and there's absolutely nowhere to put them. The base is loaded. This is where the Tigers can go ahead and go for the kill shot.
Well, from one Arizonian to the next, it's going to be Dallas Bender. Native of Tucson comes in. He's 1 for 1 on the day, and that's significantly raising his average. Now 2 for 11 on the season. And he's got a pretty good job here. He had a single back As the second batter of this inning out into left field. Came around, scored a run.
You almost wonder what the Tigers are going to do in this third inning. Who are they going to bring out on the hill? I mean, it's about 25 minutes this inning has been going on for now, and Natoli, he has not gone down to the bullpen to throw it all, and there was something warming up much earlier, but...
Yeah, but no activity as of late, so gotta imagine it's probably going to be Natoli again, and then maybe at the same time that Natoli takes the mound, you say to somebody, hey, just stretch, make sure you're ready to go if need be. So the Tigers, Bender now fouls that one off. It's going to be 1-2. First and second for Trinity. A 1-2 pitch coming from Anibal. Grounded foul. Effectively just do that again. Couldn't ask for a better day to play baseball. We've got a breeze. It's moving from third base out to about center field. Just a little bit of a hack there from Bender to stay alive. The bullpen for Endicott still quiet.
But you certainly don't want to make two changes in one inning.
Well, you can't afford to do that in the second game of a 3-game series. At the very least, you want to head back to Massachusetts with one victory, and you got to set yourself up if you feel like this one's going to get away from you for the future, or at least the possibility of the future. But as we say that, Endicott's sending down a few guys to maybe stretch out, get limbered up just in case this one continues to get away. That one in the dirt now, 2-2.
You know, for Anibal, 31 pitches already thrown in this inning in relief. I mean, that is a ton. And we now see activity getting loose. And where do you go? What do you do?
That one roped into right field. Going back on it, making a fantastic catch is the right fielder, Duffy. And Duffy, with an acrobatic catch over there, he lined it up, was going back, and as he was still taking his steps backwards, just kind of twisted the body. And fantastic job to steal RBIs and a single away from Dallas Bender.
So let's recap what we were talking about. You throw strikes and you force the Tigers to hit it, and you just see what your defense can do. And Dallas Bender hits an absolute screamer into the wind. Looks like it's going to hit the warning track on the fly. And the right fielder for Endicott makes an acrobatic spinning catch again, John Duffy. That's why you throw strikes. That's why you force them to put into play, because you never know what's going to happen. You have five walks and a hit batter. There's nothing you can do. You're just helpless watching runners touch home.
And one of the guys that walked earlier in this inning, Jack Wisniewski, now up again for the Tigers. He's got runners at first and third. But yeah, I mean, so much of this game is trusting in your teammates and the guys, the 7 guys behind you, to go out there and make the play. And if you give up hits, it's really not much different than a walk or a complete collection of walks, as Endicott has done. But then if throwing strikes was so easy, we probably wouldn't have a game of baseball. The 1-1 misses. Now Wisniewski ahead. Tenth, or excuse me, 12th batter of the inning for the Tigers. That one misses. Now 3-1. Second base is open. Goodrich at first.
Snooski looking like he's about to walk the second time this inning.
And he does, and that's going to bring up an interesting situation here for Blake Johnson. Johnson, 0 for 0 officially on the day. He's got a walk and an RBI, but this is the second time this inning he has come to the plate with the bases loaded.
Well, I seems to know what he's doing. He took the 4 pitches he saw, all of them were out of the zone, and he was credited with an RBI, mostly for just being in uniform. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets a first pitch strike, how that might change the young man's approach.
Unable to do so, and that's 5 balls this inning for Blake Johnson. Sorry. Skies that one, drifting foul, and giving chase was McDonald, but he'll watch that one go towards the outdoor pool here at Trinity. Speaking of the outdoor pool, it's an abomination that it is not open today. It's a fantastic day for the outdoor pool to be open.
I feel like you know some people you could talk to about that. Maybe a petition.
They plan to open it next month. Blake Johnson with a rip into right center. Duffy will give chase. But another RBI, this time off of a single for Blake Johnson. He's got 2 this inning, and the Tigers lead 8-4.
Just deflating. You come on the road and you do so well to start the game, and then it all unravels.
We'll bring up Vonderhaar for the Tigers. I'm curious if we'd have any sort of a mound visit at some point. We've got pretty quick activity happening down here. It looks fast enough to get a guy going. But Endicott decides to hold off for now.
Nice stolen base there from the Tigers, and they're just showing how relentless they are offensively. They have an opportunity, they feel, to put this game out of reach. A 5-run lead, all of a sudden that goes to 7, and you've got so much flexibility as a head coach, Tim Scannell does, and with a guy like Vonderhaar up, you cannot turn down the focus if you're on a ball, because one mistake pitch, we've seen him turn it out of the park.
1-1 to Vonderhaar. He walked, had an RBI in his last appearance. Tigers plating 9 runs here in the second. Vonderhaar with a high chopper, trying to leg it out down to first, but unable to do so. And nice job by Allaire. Fire over to Brennan, and 2 complete. Tigers storm back. They've got a 9-4 lead. We'll head to the third. Be back in just a moment. Top of the third inning. James Natoli back out there for the Tigers, and he'll face John Duffy, the
Top
right
of the
fielder.
third for Endicott, batting fourth. Right fielder number 13, John Duffy.
Totally missing on the first pitch, but he comes back with a strike to even the count at 1. For Duffy in this one, he had a fielder's choice and came around to score a run. Jumps ahead in the count now 2-1. Was interesting to see whether or not Trinity would roll Natoli back out there after about a 40-minute wait. And he's come up firing now 2-2. He'll get the strikeout here, and that's a good start to the top of the third for Natoli.
Batting
Throw it
fifth,
around
first
and
baseman number 12, Kyle Brennan.
bring up Kyle Brennan. Single with an RBI, and his first at bat back in the first inning. Totally moved to San Antonio when he was in middle school. Spent a year up in Austin at the University of Texas. Wasn't factoring into the plans for the Longhorns and transferred back down to Trinity. And that one skied. Wisniewski goes back. Vonderhaar calls him off. Coming in, shallow left field. Vonderhaar makes the catch for the second out of the inning.
Batting sixth, third baseman number 8, Matt Bald.
I think about how much this changes the approach now for Natoli after those first couple of innings went. I mean, you're down 4-0, and you see that there's activity in the bullpen. You're thinking to yourself that you're perhaps a couple mistakes from being yanked out of this game early and really having a disappointing Saturday. And now you go back out and you're up by 5. You're just thinking, throw strikes, right? Just throw strikes, work ahead, get that nice rhythm going. So what if they get a couple of hits? Maybe they bring home another run. It's not going to, you would think, hopefully affect the outcome of this game. I mean, I know there's plenty of time, and obviously a team that scores 4 runs in the first couple of innings, you would think very capable of scoring 4 more. But to just have a momentum switch like this, it's a real gut punch. And these next runs that Endicott, that they're able to produce, if they are able to produce more runs, I feel like it will be so much more difficult than it was to score those first couple of runs when you feel like the playing field is level.
Yeah, and for Natoli, like you're saying, he's able to go out there and just throw loose, and this is the best start to an inning that we've seen from him so far. Got a strikeout in his first batter and an easy pop-up for a second. Matt Bald batting here now. He grounded out to Natoli back in the first inning to end the first. But, yeah, I think you're exactly right. He's able to go out there, and it's not necessarily so much more confidence, but he's able to go out there without the fear of like every pitch maybe making the difference in the game. I got a full count now with 2 outs. Bald steps out. Now he'll look back in. 3-2 from Natoli. That'll miss low. So starts off strong with 2 outs on the first 2 batters and gives up that walk. So we'll see if Endicott can, they've got to feel somewhat deflated. They were out in the field for a little bit over a half hour.
Hitter number 33, Nicholas Perkins.
You come back into the dugout, and the first 2 batters go down fairly quickly. The mental aspect of this game can be tricky, and you got to just start to find a way to say, hey, let's get back to where we were when we were really good offensively. Nicholas Perkins had a single to start the second. Takes strike 1. Pick off play, and he's balled back in, I'd say rather easily. The activity for Endicott intensifying here as it looks like they'll probably make a pitching change to start the bottom of the third.
Well, close to 40 pitches in relief for Anibal, and you just wonder. I mean, that's such a heavy workload for one inning.
Takes the gas off of that one. It's now 1-2.
He's well out in front of that breaking ball, and Mentoli, why not double up on that 1-2 count? You know, to an extent, forget about that runner over at first base. That's a great pitch.
Comes back with that low curveball. Just as you mentioned, that's a fantastic location for it too. Because if you miss with it, it's probably going to be a ground ball somewhere. Now the count will run full once again. Not want to go down for a walk, skirts away, and trying to take third, and doing so is going to be balled. Heads up base running for Endicott. And that's the type of thing that they're going to have to do maybe to get rolling back into this. A couple of back-to-back walks here with 2 down, and then a heads-up base running play to take an extra base.
You know, that's, I got to say, it's not a great look, I think, there for Goodrich. A terrific player, very talented player, obviously, but on a pass ball with a runner on base to sort of go at that about 50%, and to have that runner go first to third on a ball that gets away from you, that really can't happen. And he's a leader on this team. You just can't be setting that type of tone. It doesn't matter that you're up by 5 runs. These are important games.
Ball shot over to Johnson at third. Fields it cleanly, fires over to Tucker. And the Tigers will escape first and third jam with 2 outs. And we go to the bottom of the third. Tigers up 5, 9-4.
No runs, no hits.
Bottom of the third, and as we mentioned, Endicott going with a pitching change. Alexander Zeiser will come in. The 6'4", 220 junior from Florida. It's in an IMG Academy, and he'll be facing Mason Meredith, the center fielder for Trinity. First pitch swinging, and that's going to be strike 1. Meredith with an RBI single. in his first at-bat just an inning ago. Looks at that one, and it's quickly strike two. Sizer coming in and being effective here in the early going.
Sizer looks like he's got a little bit of sink to his pitches. Well, those were a couple of fastballs or not, but nice left to right movement.
He'll strike out Meredith, but the ball gets away from the catcher, and Meredith will reach first on the pass ball.
Hey, when it's your day, it's your day.
Find a way to get on base. At the end of the day, the stats really don't matter. It's all about the runs scored, and you can't score a run if you don't get on base. And back to the top of the order with Logan Morrison. Morrison 0 for 1 on the day with an RBI walk. Hit and run on, and that one, what a catch by Sean Duffy once again, and it's going to go for a double play.
Spectacular play. Just a full extension catch. That's the kind of highlight reel stuff you like to see.
Number 2 slot right fielder.
It's an
Number 11, Jake
unbelievable
Martin.
play by Sean Duffy. Fortunately, the confines of the ballpark here at Trinity don't allow us to put cameras in very good spots. And so, don't think we have a good look at that one, but full extension. That was one that probably could have been ESPN worthy. Number 2 on the order, Jake Martin. He's 0 for 2 here early on with a strikeout and a fielder's choice, and he's even in the count 1-1. Those are the types of catches in the double play situation that might be able to turn the momentum around for Endicott. Now 2-1 for Martin. Martin with a chance to get on base here as the count's in his favor. He'll draw a walk with 2 down. Bring up John Tucker.
Just amazing. I mean, you think a play like that in right field by Duffy, that's the sort of thing that can help seize momentum, maybe turn things around, because obviously it's been a rough go the last couple of innings here for the goals, and maybe it's going to be a clean inning. And then with 2 outs, you walk the next guy. I mean, everything that seems to be going in the way of the goals, they just then shoot themselves in the foot and just stop any momentum that they could potentially have.
Yeah, and when things have been going so well for them, they've taken advantage of so many opportunities early on. Tucker rips that one into the gap in left center. Martin's rounding third. He looks to be headed for home, and Tucker's going to hold up at second with an RBI double, and it's just like you talk about. You get an
RBI
amazing
double,
double
John
play
Tucker.
to start the inning there, and then you walk a guy and give up a shot into the gap, and now it's 10-4.
These unforced errors. 6 walks. Not good, Josh. Not good.
Baseball is a funny
Catcher,
game.
number 22.
That'll bring up Goodrich, the catcher. Two down here, runner in scoring position for Tiger backstop. And that was a classic John Tucker base hit right there, too. Just line shot into the gap. I feel like his entire career is just hits like that. Goodrich 1 for 1 on the day. 238 overall in the season. Significantly higher than when this series started. And then after all of that, you miss inside. So Sizer maybe a little rattled after everything was seemingly going his way. Had a strikeout. The runner reached. Not much a pitcher can do about that. Then you get a fantastic defensive play. But then you let it slip away with 2 out.
Tigers will take it. They have proven for so many years now that they know how to cash in on opportunities, and they don't just go for the small rallies. I mean, they score runs in chunks. You see a lot of 3s and 4s in some of those half innings throughout the season, and to see a 9 spot posted up in the second and then to follow that up with another run, I mean, what? You want to take the over or the under on the chances of the Tigers scoring more than 10 runs this game?
That one fouled back. And I think for almost any game, there's always that chance this team can be so explosive and be so patient. You don't consistently represent your conference and your region well for the better part of 2 decades without establishing that culture. That one gets away, spiked in the dirt, and Tucker over to third. 3-1 now the count. Get a good look there at Tigers' third base coach, the assistant, Andrew Waters.
Batting fifth,
Waters,
designated hitter number
member of the
17, Dallas
2016 championship team. It'll be first and third for the Tigers. Dallas Bender stepping in. Waters, just one of those guys. You talk about Tigers just being patient and waiting for their role and everything else. Wasn't going to factor into the plans for Trinity during his 4-year career here. Kind of fought his way into the lineup as a senior. And all he did was hit 8 home runs as a senior, hit over 400 on a team that went 44-7 and won the national championship team, or was the national championship team, and found himself on the all-tournament team at the College World Series. Bender ahead now 2-1.
Good pitch. Nice changing of locations there from Zeisser. Worked inside on that first strike, and then to be able to paint over the outside corner. It gives him some options here on this 2-2.
The pitch he needs right here. This one lofted into shallow right. Looks like John Duffy will take care of it. And so Duffy responsible for all 3 outs this inning. And the Tigers able to plate a run here in the third. We'll go to the fourth. Tigers in command, 10-4.
the third inning.
Top of the fourth inning and bottom of the order for Endicott. Jordan Carvajal 0 for 1 on the day, and for the Tigers, and the Natoli still out there. Fires a strike. Joined now by Ryan Figert. And the second pitch comes in, misses, and evens the count 1-1. Natoli sitting at 58 pitches so far. That one misses low. Now 2-1. You have to start to wonder after the delays in the offensive part of the inning for the Tigers, is that one on a line and handled by Mason Meredith. Relatively easy job by Meredith as he covers a lot of ground out there in center field.
Yeah, it continues to be a lot of
Top of the order,
outfield
second baseman
putouts
number
here. We
18,
saw the diving
Christian.
catch in the last inning, and now Tiger outfield getting involved as well. Some good contact being made with the ball, as would be indicated by the scoreline.
Christian Allaire, he's 1 for 2 officially, but he reached on a fielder's choice and has been able to score both times he's come to the plate. So responsible for 2 of those 4 Endicott runs.
And it's got to be a real confidence booster for the freshman, just his second collegiate affair, and he's been put into that number 1 spot in the order after batting in the 9-hole yesterday. There were 8 changes in the order of the lineup, only a couple real substitutions from yesterday's lineup. McDonald the only one staying in the same spot. The 3-hole today for the goals.
And now 2-1 to Allaire. He walked in his final 2 at-bats yesterday, and I wonder if just his patient approach to the plate. You know, you've got a guy who he went 0 for 2, but he got on base twice out of 4 plate appearances. And if you got a guy who's getting on base at a 500 clip, you find a way to get him more at bats. And comes through there now, 2 for 3 in this game, and 2 for 5 on the season.
Yeah, undoubtedly a bright spot here, and a pretty bleak early couple of innings for the goals.
And the guy that's driven him in today is Dan Cacciola. Now, he led off for Endicott yesterday and batted 3 for 5, so can't argue with the production that they've gotten out of their leadoff hitter the past 2 games. But figure go 3 for 5, you might be able to move somebody around instead of just leading off. And so far, the combination of batting Allaire right in front of Cacciola has been very wise and fortuitous choice for Endicott.
Cacciola with the big double yesterday in those 3 hits.
Yeah, just 1 for 2 today, but he does have 2 RBI. That one taken for a strike. Now he's quickly behind 0-2. Tigers playing double play position up the middle. Wisniewski and Morrison kind of shading towards the center. Tolley delivers. And be 2 down as Cacciola looks at 3 pitches, swings at the last one. And I'll bring up Brendan McDonald as
Batting
1 for 2.
third, left fielder number 5, Brendan McDonald.
And it's really impressive what Natoli's able to do. It's 2 innings in a row where he's had quite a lot of time sitting there, keeping himself busy over on the bench as the Tigers went around the order in the 2nd inning and had a couple walks in the 3rd. So for him to be able to continue to produce at this high level from the mound is really important.
Yeah, and he didn't have a lot of high pitches. It was more necessarily about he struggled early on and then had to sit and wait for a while. But since that point, maybe it's the fact that he's holding the big lead, but he's been able to go out there and just toss and catch, and it's been a huge difference for the starter.
Yeah,
An 8 1/3 of shutout inning in his appearance last Saturday against Birmingham Southern.
That added to his record. He's 2-0 coming into this one with a ERA under 2. The 4 runs certainly count against that. We'll see how long he goes.
This one into the gap, and what a catch by Mason Meredith. Absolutely fantastic defense here from both teams, and that'll end the top of the 4th. Meredith. Oh, we've seen that all year, but goodness gracious. We'll be back for the bottom of the 4th in just a minute. Tigers lead 10-4. Bottom of the fourth, it'll be Jack Wisniewski stepping in for the Tigers. Sizer still out there for Endicott. Started off really strong in the third inning and then a little bit of trouble late. But Wisniewski right at Duffy, and that will go for out number 1. Bring up Blake Johnson, who's 1 for 1.
Batting seventh, third baseman number 20,
with
Blake Johnson.
3 RBI. Batted twice in the last inning.
3 out of the last 4 outs for the goals recorded out here in right field. Duffy doing a fantastic job defensively, working behind Zizer.
Yeah, 3 out of the last 4, but he's responsible for 4 out of the last 5. He's got the outfield assist, doubling up Meredith. Back at first base. Johnson taking strike 1 before the ball evens the count. Big rip there from Johnson, and he comes up empty. Johnson also a member of the Tiger football team.
That's one of the really special things about Division III, where you can have a player play 2 sports. It's really rare as you go up the chain in NCAA play. As Johnson wishes he could have that at-bat back. He goes down on strikes. But, you know, there's the high-profile examples, you know,
10, Jack
out at Oklahoma. But here at Trinity, that's not particularly uncommon to have some tremendous athletes keeping up in 2 sports as well as in the classroom. So awesome job for Blake Johnson.
Bringing up Jack Vonderhaar. He was recorded out twice back in the second inning. Once trying to advance home on a force out. And then he grounded out to second to end the inning. Steps in now.
Vanderar, the only Tiger not to score a run so far in this game. He was thrown out at home on a fielder's choice back in the second.
Yeah, he's the only Tiger not to score in the second.
Quite a few black diamonds on the score sheet, so we had to extend it over into the next column. Tigers bat around.
Yeah, Goodrich scored twice in the second. Vonderhaar not able to. Tigers played at 9. They got 0-2 count here. 2 down. Vonderhaar rips that one into right field. Past the diving
Base hit
attempt
for Jack Vonderhaar.
from Allaire. And Vonderhaar
Batting
now
ninth, center fielder number 15,
hitting
Mason
safely, I
Meredith.
think, in every game that he's played so far this year. Sends us down towards the bottom of the order. Mason Meredith. Struck out in his last at-bat. Was able to advance to first on a pass ball, and then he got doubled up. And Morrison hit the rocket shot down the line and right to Duffy. Duffy made the catch, and Meredith was about 4 steps off of second base at the time, had no chance to come back. This one sent right down the line again, but it's going to fall short of Duffy. Trying to go first at third is Vonderhaar, and he'll do so easily. And a base hit for Mason Meredith. He's 2 for 3 on the day, and his fantastic weekend continues. That'll send us back to the top of the order. Runners first and third, and we saw this a little bit from Zizer last inning. He relatively effective first couple of hitters, and then with 2 outs, Tigers were able to mount a little bit of a rally. And we got first and third here, top of the order, Logan Morrison batting now for Trinity. Zizer fires in a strike. Morrison 0 for 2. RBI walk back in the second.
Morrison, one of the guys that Tigers really expect to get all kinds of offensive production from. Hasn't happened quite to that extent so far this season. He's been a semi-effective leadoff man. More to come from him surely throughout the year.
Tigers with a double fake break. Morrison comes up empty, now 1-2.
And Morrison, interestingly enough, for a leadoff hitter, likes to take a lot of big swings. Gets a lot of big swings in the miss, and when he does make contact, like we saw that drive out into right field, his last at bat, he can put something behind the ball. He was unlucky on that occasion. So we get another ball down in the dirt from Zeiser.
Activity in the goals bullpen, and that one shot into the gap. Duffy covering well. 1 run will score, and Meredith with a good break on that one and 2 outs. He was gone. He'll go first to third. Morrison now 1 for 3 with 2 RBI, and the Tigers lead 11-4.
There's some of that production from Morrison. He came into this one with just 2 RBI. He's added to it there after he previously added in the second with the walk. So doubling his season total on the day.
That'll bring up Jake Martin. Martin 0 for 2. Had a walk in the third inning. Also the reason why Vonderhaar did not score in the second. He grounded out to the third baseman. Third baseman went home with the force tag at the plate. But a chance to bring home a couple of Tigers.
It's just such a bizarre score sheet to look down at because you see the first inning, ground out, strikeout, fly out, 1, 2, 3 inning for the top of the order. And then the second inning, everyone got at least one look at the combination of Burke and Anibal. And then the Tigers have just been lacing it up here against Zeiser as well.
Martin sends this one back into the warning track, but able to make the play is going to be McDonald. And Zeiser out of the jam, but he gives up a run. And the Tigers now with a 7-run lead as we go to the fifth. We'll be back in just a moment here on the Tiger Network. Top of the fifth, and defensive wizard right fielder John Duffy steps in against James Natoli. Shows bunt and lays down a really nice one. Blake Johnson charging, and all he can do is just let that one roll all the way to the bag. That was his only chance, hoping it would go foul. It does not, and that'll be a leadoff single for John Duffy.
It was the perfect bunt there from the right fielder. Just traveled along the line, and the pace he was put at it was forcing third baseman to make a play, and he could only hope and pray it would roll over the line. Johnson over there at third was forced to eat it.
Yeah, and that's the first good bunt that we've seen from Endicott so far in these 2 games. Brennan, the hot shot off of John Tucker. That'll go all the way down the right field line. That'll be a base hit. Duffy quickly running first to third, and the throw back from Martin to Tucker almost got Brennan out at first, but he was able to just get the toe back on the bag. And first and
Batting
third
sixth,
with
third baseman number
nobody
8,
out
Matt
here,
Bald.
as Natoli's pitch count starts to rise into the high 70s. See action getting loose quickly now for Tigers in their bullpen. That'll bring up Matt Bald. Bald 0 for 1 on the day. Brennan now 2 for 3. Shot right back at Natoli, and he's got the runner in a hot spot here. Tigers will be looking to get the out at third. And they eventually will. So the lead runner, Duffy, is going to be retired. And there'll be runners at first and second for Endicott. We talked about Natoli fielding his position off the mound earlier in the game, and you see it come into effect here again. And that's a skill that every pitcher, if they haven't
Batting seventh,
mastered
the
at
designated
the
hitter,
early
number
young levels,
33,
it's
Nicholas
one of the things they
Perkins.
should really work on. Because it's one of those things that can really save you in a tight spot or get you out of a jam. And works really well there for Natoli, taking the lead runner off of third.
Yeah, good awareness. That's his fourth involvement in and out for the Tigers. He had a couple throws over to first in the early innings, like you mentioned. But just good awareness there, realizing that they can get the runner in a pickle, and then good execution from the Tigers to get the out.
Nicholas Perkins up now. He's got a single and a walk. He looks to erase yesterday. Has a chance here with 2 on. That one misses, now 1-1.
I think John Tucker will be feeling a bit better as well. He was really upset with himself, unable to make the play during the previous at-bat. It was a line shot right at him. But just the velocity cannoned off his glove and into right field. Now a chance for the Tigers to get out of the inning with just 1 ground ball.
Natoli will be in a position to throw a ground ball pitch here as he's ahead in the count 1-2. Brennan at second, Bald at first. It's Perkins at the plate. Calls time. He'll think this one over just a touch longer. The wind, which has died down significantly, starting to pick back up. And the 1-2 from Natoli goes upstairs, and that'll get Perkins swinging. He'll go down on strikes. He's 1 for 2 on the day. And that's the second out here in the top of the 5th.
Batting
Brings
eighth,
up Matthew
shortstop, number
McKinley, the
21,
shortstop.
Matthew McKinley.
He's 1 for 2 with a run scored. Got a single up the middle back in the second. Then grounded out to third in the third. Throw back over and not going to get him. And throw just a touch high. Hard to blame Natoli on that one. They had Bald picked off. And if he'd have thrown that right at the bottom part of the first base bag, they've got Bald picked off easily, but that one just left a little bit high. Tucker had to reach out, grab it, and then apply the tag as opposed to letting the ball come to him. So now Natoli focuses on McKinley, and the first pitch is a strike.
Yeah, and if that one does result in the pickoff, that'd be really frustrating for everyone involved with the goals, as he's not even the lead runner here, and they're down big. Need to keep the runners out there when they can, especially with 2 outs. No need to get picked off there. Natoli continues to flirt with the different base runners as he looked that time towards second base.
Natoli, who struggled early out of the gate, has turned in a pretty solid performance. If he gets another out, he's in line for the win. As you mentioned earlier, Ryan, 2-0 already on the season. If he could bump that to 3-0, he'd be really happy with his early season performance. Talked a little bit about the schedule for Trinity. Trying to face off some top teams. This one rolled over to the left side of the bag at second. Wisniewski there fires over to Morrison, and Natoli does a job to get out of the fifth. Played 4.5. Tigers lead 11-4. We'll be back in a moment here on the Tiger Network. Bottom of the fifth inning, leading off for Trinity, John Tucker. Tucker first pitch inside, and that pitch delivered by Kyle Woolman. Woolman, the 5'9", 170 senior from East Berlin, Connecticut. And 20 innings last year on 9 appearances, had a 6.30 ERA, 15 strikeouts, 12 walks, gave up 14 earned runs on 18 hits. Now behind to Tucker, 2-0. Make it 3-0. As we've reached the halfway point of this series. That one will be a called strike. And Tucker will retreat and face another pitch.
Yeah, Tucker very confident that one missed the zone. Tossed the bat back towards the dugout. Now he'll take the 3-1 pitch.
Lofts this one high, but short into center. And it's actually going to be right center, and taking it's going to be Duffy. The out we've seen Duffy make today.
Batting fourth, the catcher, number 22, Michael Goodrich.
That'll bring up Goodrich. Goodrich turning his season around here with the third series of the 2019 campaign. 1 for 1, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored. Had a walk, a single, and a walk. So really doing what he can to position himself on the base path. Little check swing. They're going to say he offered. And it'll be now 0-2.
For Goodrich, we've seen a real gradient in terms of his offensive output. We saw him, struggle to get contact with the ball early on in the first series, and then as the second series progressed, he started to make more and more solid contact, putting ground balls just towards the defenders instead of finding the gaps, and now it seems like he's finally coming into his own at the plate and finding gaps, and obviously finding the big home run yesterday. Just finding ways to get on base for the junior catcher. And that's more of what we expected to see from him coming into this one.
Woolman now 2-2 against number 22 here for the Tigers. Now one rope down the line, land in front of Duffy. He'll track it down, and Goodrich now trying to dig for two, and Duffy unable to come
That's
up
a
with it
double for
cleanly.
Michael Goodrich.
That'll be a double for Michael Goodrich. 2 for 2 on the day.
Batting fifth,
He's
designated
having
hitter
himself
number
a
17,
series
Dallas
here against
Bender.
Endicott. They'll bring up the designated hitter, Dallas Bender, for the Tigers.
Yeah, for all you stat fanatics, is now the number 22 for the Tigers, who just had a double, has 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 RBIs, and 2 hits on the day. In the second game of the series, might I add.
And this game's lasted a little too long here through 4.5 innings. But Bender takes a hack at that one and misses for strike 1, fouls it off.
It's against Bender. Duffy out in right field had that tremendous out that he made. He's flown out to right field twice, as well as scoring back in the second.
Woolman a little inconsistent here. Misses that one up high and inside. 1-1 to Bender.
Yeah, Wallman on the mound, a senior. This is his first appearance in his senior season for the Gulls. Throughout his other 3 years, he's amassed 25 1/3 innings pitched in 16 appearances. So perhaps looking to play a bit more of an extended role here in his final season as a Gull.
See so many pitchers with the single-digit numbers now as Bender ropes that one into the gap left center. Gets past McDonald. Easily scoring is Goodrich. It's now 12-4, a stand-up double for Dallas Bender.
Dallas Bender.
Dallas Bender continuing to hit the ball well. It's his 3rd or 4th really solid contact that he's made. That one managed to find somewhere out in the outfield.
I'll bring up the shortstop, Jack Wisniewski. For Wisniewski, really having a go at it both offensively and defensively this series. But he's 0 for 1 today. A pair of walks and a fly out to none other than John Duffy out in right field. Called strike to even the count at 1. That one will catch now, 1-2. Talked about the Tigers' schedule. They opened up with what ended up being a 2-game set against Cortland February 9th and 10th, and then a 3-game set against Birmingham Southern last week. Of course, Endicott this week. So that one, a Yorker hits Wisniewski on the foot. There'll be runners at first and second. 1 down. Got Babson coming in March 1st through the 3rd. That's next week. For the Tigers finally go back on the road. They were supposed to play Mary Hardin Baylor
Batting seventh,
in a
third
game
baseman number
midweek this
20,
week. The rain canceled that one out, so they pushed it back to March the 5th. Tigers will travel for the first time right up I-35, about 2.5 hours away in Belton, Texas, to take on the Crusaders. Before they're back here, right before spring break, to take on Rochester. Then they're at home versus Milliken before the conference season starts, and they go up 35 again to take on the University of Dallas. Come back for a single Tuesday game against Our Lady of the Lake on March 19th. Then the big series against Texas Lutheran that'll be played here at home March 22nd and 23rd. Of course, Texas Lutheran finishing second overall in the nation last year, losing in the College World Series final series. Blake Johnson 1 for 2 on the day, and he fouls that one just past the third base bag.
And last year for the Tigers, it was a story of a lot of games on the road. This year, the exact opposite. Only a couple series away from the ballpark here on campus.
Johnson pops this one up, taking it from the infield for the second out. It'll be Brennan. Yeah, after that Texas Lutheran series, we're back home again for a single game versus the University of Chicago, March 25th. And then home in a 3-game series against Centenary. Then a single game home against Hardin Simmons. And then 3-game series against Austin College. And then a single game against Our Lady of the Lake before they finally play another road game all the way out April 12th and 13th. Again, just up I-35 against Southwestern. So even though they've got a few road games, they're all just right up the road up I-35. Get on a bus for a couple of hours, and that's it. It's not like the travel schedule is going to be particularly exciting. You're going to see the same things for the first hour and a half of the trip for all 3 of your road games.
And if it's going to be I-35, you're going to be seeing a lot of tail lights.
That one fouled back by Vonderhaar. Actually, the only game in which they probably may take a different route than going straight up I-35 from San Antonio is the very last game of the regular season that'll be played in Abilene at McMurray. So depending on which way they want to travel, it's really the only contest in which they will have any sort of need for a map. Let's count now 1 and 2.
It'll be interesting to see how that comes into effect late on in the season when, hopefully the Tigers are playing in some type of postseason ball outside of the SCAC tournament. There will be traveling, obviously, usually to the regional, somewhere relatively close. But if the Tigers continue to advance, that'll be the first time they've really had any big travel in the entire season.
Yeah, and with the NCAA changing everything up, there's always that potential that somehow regional could be played here. We have no idea how everything will unfold for the postseason going forward from 2019 onward because it's not anything we've experienced before in Division III. And Vonderhaar gets underneath that one, but didn't quite get enough of it, and he'll fly out to Duffy. That'll end the bottom of the 5th. Tigers played another one, and they now lead 12-4. We'll be back for the 6th here on the Tiger Network in just a moment. Top of the sixth inning, Jordan Carvajal will stand in for Endicott, and he will be the first one to get a look at Brandon Hance. Hance coming in for the first time here in, or excuse me, the second time here in 2019. Had 2/3 of an inning in his last appearance, walk and a strikeout. As a junior, had 6 appearances, 12 innings pitched, 14 Ks, and had 6 Ks and 3 1/3 as a freshman. A hot shot to Morrison for the first out of the inning.
The top of the order, second baseman number 18.
It'll take us back to the
Christian
top of the
Allaire.
order, and Christian Allaire, who's combined with Cacciola for a dynamic duo at the top of the lineup. Allaire 2 for 3 on the day. A double and a single, along with the fielder's choice. Hance delivers a strike.
Another one of these Tiger pitchers that stands up at 6'4", coming from that really high angle when he comes and deals to the plate. Native of Tucson and now his junior season.
Missing here with the breaking balls. Count now 2-1. Working quickly. Leaves that one up in the zone and it's fouled back.
Interesting change of uniform today for the Tigers, wearing the non-traditional white with the maroon sleeves. No buttons on these like their normal fits.
Yeah, I do like the maroon sleeves, though. We used to have the all-white tops they would wear with this combination and just look like a bunch of good humor ice cream delivery men. That'll be a called strike 3, much to dissatisfaction of Allaire. He's now 2 for 4 on the day.
Allaire reached base with a couple of walks yesterday, so has a good eye at the plate. And that time his eye disagreed with the umpires.
So 2 down here for Dan Cacciola. Struck out in his last at-bat, but he's 1 for 3 on the day with 2 RBI. First pitch misses, ball 1. That one upstairs. You can hear the bells from the tower here on campus, signaling that it is 4 o'clock Central Time. Hands with the 1-1. Gets the call, now 1-2. Or excuse me, now 2-1.
Yeah, and if you look at Hance's track record, he's definitely a strikeout pitcher, has 21 strikeouts in 16 innings pitched in his Tiger career, and he already has one today, retiring Allaire looking. It's just been when the opposition's able to square him up, he's let in a few earned runs, especially last season.
Be a 5-pitch walk for Cacciola. Bring up Brennan McDonald. Donald 1 for 3, flew out to center, struck out looking, and a single in his first at-bat. Yeah, Tigers historically, a lot of very high strikeout ratio guys. They typically have a team K per 9 somewhere around 10, 11, 12 on any given year. A lot in part due with the coaching and the training program here that we have. Coach Dave Smith likes to get guys who know how to pitch and then work with improving them. And a lot of that's just strength training. So we'll get guys who throw pretty decent velocity. And then if they come in already knowing how to mentally approach situational pitching, then it's a plus, and you're just building up guys as far as strength goes. And it's against the level of competition that you play at Division III level, you sort of gain that slight advantage, and then that's where you come out as a high strikeout team. But Hans, after walking the last batter on 5, he's already up 3-0 on Brennan McDonald, the left fielder.
Yeah, and obviously, like you mentioned with the strength training, the baseball team, like every team here on campus, as that one goes and gives a free base to McDonald, has the opportunity to take advantage of the Sports Performance Center, the newly renovated, athlete-specific weight room that's certainly helped athletes across every sport here on campus to improve themselves. So particularly with the pitchers, getting that velocity up, and then it becomes a mental game when you know you can do it. Just about executing in the moment.
Well, Coach Dave Smith out there to make dinner plans for tonight. And Endicott with 2 on here with 2 down in the top of the 6th. The umpire, he wants to know what's on the menu.
He says, all right, we're going to Bombay's. Sounds good.
They've broken that up. And Hans will step in against Duffy. Duffy 1 for 3. Singled in his last at-bat in the 5th inning. Started the 5th with a single. That one missing, but the runners stay put. Goodrich able to get to it quickly.
Interestingly enough, there's been a pattern across pretty much all pitchers in the last couple innings of getting the first 2 outs, and then when there was a couple base hits or a couple walks, just allowing the opponent to creep back into the inning. Tigers were able to grab a couple of tallies on the board in the 5th and 6th in a similar manner. 2 out rallies.
Hans's fastball looks good. It looks like it's jumping pretty well, but it's also jumping out of the zone. So 2-0 here for Hans versus Duffy. He sends a shot through the left side, and racing around and scoring easily will be Casciola. And that's an RBI single for Dan Duffy. He's now 2 for 4. That's his first RBI of the day to bring up Kyle Brennan, who steps in, leading the team so far at 2 for 3 average. He's got 2 singles and an RBI.
Yeah, I think it's fitting for Duffy now to get on the score sheet. He's had a tremendous day defensively. Now adding to that at the plate for the goals. Take me a while to flip over to the other side of the score sheet and count up the F9s.
Now Hans finally back in there with a good strike. And sometimes it's just give up that run, and then all of a sudden you just mentally reset everything and say, okay, I've already given up 1. Let's just go attack the batter. See if Hans can settle in and do that. And nice pitch there as Brennan was out in front of it. Now he's behind 0-2.
Yeah, I think it'd be characteristic here of Hans on the mound to go ahead and get the man on a strikeout after giving up the run. It's not going to be on that pitch, as Goodrich did well just to keep it from going to the backstop.
Yeah, wouldn't have expected a pitch to be hittable 0-2 with 2-1 here. I also wouldn't have expected Hans to sail that one as he did. So 1-2. And that's going to load the bases. So you go from 1-2 to hitting a guy. Now you got the bases full of goals. And Matt Bald steps in. He's 0 for 2, but
Batting
A
sixth,
big
third
opportunity
baseman
to
number
turn
8,
his
Matt
day
Ball.
around. He can get a good shot here to score some Endicott runs.
Yesterday, Ball grabbed himself an RBI. Starting at third base once again for the Gulls.
And now Hans misses to start the at-bat, 1-0.
Now all that mental reset that we talked about is gone. The pressure's on with the bases loaded. Nowhere to put the batter. There are 2 down, so any out will do here for Tigers number 44.
Yeah, nobody warming up for the Tigers, and that's not unexpected, but that does mean that Hans is out here on an island to figure this out. He's one pitch away from getting out of the jam. He's also one pitch away from being on a sinking ship. That one finds the strike zone, so it's 2-1.
And if the Gulls are able to grab 2 or 3 here, they'll feel maybe the door has just been creaked open a bit as we're still just in the 6th inning, despite how long it feels like we've been playing. Started out hot, grabbed 2 in each of the first 2 innings, did the visitors. And if they can get the offense heated up here late on, could be set up for an interesting finish.
Three and one now. Earlier action around Trinity over in the SCAC Women's Basketball Championships. Trinity, after a first round bye, defeating Colorado College, and now the host TLU Bulldogs have defeated the number 2 seed Austin College Kangaroos. So Tigers will have to go into the kennel, as it were, over in Seguin tomorrow and fight off the home team for a right to play in the NCAA postseason in women's basketball. Men's team also facing TLU today in the semifinal. That'll be later tonight. Hans catches the 3-1 pitch and now runs count full. So runners will be going, and this changes the dynamic a little bit. Ball able to find himself a base hit. They might be able to squeak across a run that they probably wouldn't have. And that one lifted. Shallow center. Morrison going out, and he'll take charge, and that will do it. Endicott threatens with the bases loaded, but they only score 1, and they
For the Gulls,
cut the lead
top half of the
now
sixth
down to
inning,
12 to
one run,
5.
hit, no
We'll be
errors,
back
3 players
for the
left
bottom of the
on,
6th here in
and
just a
5 to
moment.
1.
Bottom of the 6th inning, Mason Meredith, center fielder for the Tigers, step in. Meredith absolutely loving that Endicott is in town. He is having himself quite a series. As he is 2 for 3 today with a run scored and an RBI. He's got a 1-1 count.
Here's what I found on the web. First 2 for 3 today, able to run.
Siri once involved on the commentary.
Yeah, sometimes technology is absolutely awful. As that one rolled up the middle, coming over to try to make the play from short and unable to do so was McKinley. But a hit and an error as that one scoots away into the dugout. So a fantastic attempt at it from McKinley, but he'll get charged with an error because it allowed Meredith to
Company order,
advance an
second
extra
baseman number
90
19,
feet.
Logan Morrison.
Bring up Logan Morrison, but going back to Meredith on the day, just absolutely enjoying himself. 3 for 4 today. He was 3 for 4 yesterday. Those are the types of games that just really get a guy to break out. And spoke with him briefly before the game, and he was just talking about just he's having fun. He's just out there. He's playing loose. I think that makes a huge difference here at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. Came into this one hitting 364. He's definitely improved that with the big 3 for 4, 3 singles today. An RBI as well. Came around to score in the second, as did the majority of the Tiger lineup. And he'll advance to third here as the pitch scoots back to the backstop. Had plenty of time to do it as he was hesitant. And eventually, third base coach made the call, I think.
Yeah, deceptively a lot of room back there. It's not a super big backstop area, but you've got grass and gravel. Morrison sends this one on a line. If it's caught, it'll be a sac fly, but it's not. It'll go down as an RBI double into the left center field gap, and Morrison with back-to-back hits.
RBI
He's got a
double,
single
Logan Morrison.
back in the 4th inning. He's now 2 for 4 with 3 RBI on the day. And Logan Morrison getting
Number
the
two
bats
slot,
going.
right fielder number 11, Jake Martin.
Yeah, and it's exciting for the Tigers to see our leadoff man finally starting to get hot. And it's really helpful when the bottom of the order has been able to get on base so effectively as well. He's coming up with guys on, and he's bringing them home. 3 RBIs today.
Jake Martin steps in. He's 0 for 3, but he has scored 2 runs. Did so after reaching base on a fielder's choice and a walk back in the 2nd and 3rd innings. Struck out in the 1st and flew out to left field in the 4th.
I think that stat line tells you pretty much all you need to know about the Tigers offensively today. They've been opportunistic. They've been gifted a lot of runs by the Endicott pitching staff on walks and things of that nature. They have been good. They've hit 444 on the day, but that's in addition to the 8 walks listed there on the score sheet.
That one bounced in front of the dish. Morrison with stolen base on the play as he was going on the pitch. Count now 1-2 to Martin. Martin in a position where a fly ball will score a run, but he's not going to get an RBI as the wild pitch will plate Logan Morrison. The Tigers now lead 14-5.
Goals continue to be their own worst enemy here as Morrison comes all the way around. And Martin's now wondering, oh, well, there goes the chance to add to my scoreline.
Count now runs full as Martin takes a ball.
And obviously the objective is the same for Martin, just to make contact, good contact with the ball and get on base. It's probably a bit frustrating, though, that chance for the RBI is no longer waiting on third.
Thought he'd have a chance to pad his stats, but he's not going to be able to do so. And Martin will draw a walk after all of that. And we talked about the Trinity schedule. Looking at the Endicott schedule, stands out as
first baseman number 4, John
face a pretty
Tucker.
good lineup. They take on a couple of good teams as they go down to Florida. They'll be down in Arbondale around the middle of March and take on Wisconsin, Stephen Point, St. Norbert, Concordia, Rowan, TCNJ. So a really good schedule here from Endicott. Looks like they've done what they can. They also take on UMass Boston, who last year was sitting around number 1 or number 2 in the season, and after a walk, John Tucker will stand in there and get hit by the pitch. So it'll be first and second for the Tigers. Endicott also with a couple of non-conference games against MIT, Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and take on Tufts. So really good, and then it's a home-and-home situation with UMass Boston. So a really good schedule for Endicott. And I think what I was trying to say was that, you know, they start off against Trinity. They lose 8-1 yesterday. They're down 14-5 here, but you know, this is early goings for them. They first game of the season yesterday. You know, and Trinity comes in already having played 2 series. It's just one of those things where you try to schedule a bunch of people. You try to make it to where you're being competitive and you're playing competitive games, and then you face a team that's not necessarily in midseason form, but you face a team that has some action going already, and you can't really make a huge amount of noise against a team like that because they're just doing their thing while you're still trying to figure things out early on in the season. A pitching change here for Endicott. It'll be Joseph Brown, junior out of Vermont. We'll check on the applied mathematics major when we return in just a moment. Michael Goodrich will step in against Joseph Brown, the one-time Vermont Wendy Heisman Award winner, and the junior pitcher. Had 10 appearances last year. Started 7 games, went 3-0. Went 30 innings, gave up 27 hits, allowed 20 runs, just 15 earned. Struck out 29, walking 17, finishing with a 4.5 ERA. This is his first appearance here on the 2019 campaign. First pitch into Goodrich is a strike.
And it's not ideal for a new pitcher coming to this game to be facing up against Michael Goodrich, who's starting to come into his own at the plate. He scored 3 runs today, some RBIs to add to it as well, after he had that big double last time out.
Yeah, 2 for 2, and he's also got 2 walks, so he's looking to be on base for the 5th time today. That one misses high, now 2-1.
Goodrich brings a lot of power, was the home run leader a season ago, and is now at the top of the chart alongside Jack Vander Aar with 1 after going deep yesterday into the opposite field here.
Tigers have first and second, nobody out. Now make it bases loaded, nobody out for Dallas Bender. Bender 2 for 4 on the day. He's got a single
Batting fifth, the
back in the
designated
second
hitter,
inning
number
and
17,
an
Dallas
RBI
Bender.
double back in the fifth.
I think for Bender, the 2 for 4 doesn't really show what a good day he's had at the plate. He's hit the ball extremely hard all 4 times. Forced a great catch out in right field from Duffy earlier on as well. So for Bender coming back into the lineup, he'll certainly have built some confidence here. Playing as the DH today. He had a pinch hitting appearance last night as well.
Tigers have scored in every inning after that 1-2-3 first inning that they had. 9 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, now 2 here in the sixth. And still giving it a go. Bender goes up there shopping for a hit, and he's just looking. He goes down on 3 pitches.
Batting sixth, shortstop, number 2, Jack Wisniewski.
Big chance here for Jack Wisniewski, who hasn't had the best start to this series. He's got on base. And it looks like his day is actually going to be done as he'll be replaced in the order.
Get a number on this. Will be number 33, Michael Montereza, the first-year infielder from Los Gatos, California. Chopper up the middle. Be taken by the second baseman. Flip over to short, and the double play executed. Umpire maybe giving the defense a little bit more leeway on that
For the
one.
Tigers in the bottom
But
of the
a
sixth inning, 2 runs, 2 hits. There was
double
one
play
out.
nonetheless. And we go to the seventh. It's 14-5 Tigers. We'll be back in a moment. Top of the seventh inning. Perkins at bat for Endicott. Hant still out there on the mound. We got a couple of defensive changes, and one of them we'll get to you really quickly as that ball floated out into right field and handled by the new right fielder, Adam Jew. And quickly, 1 pitch and 1 down here
Batting eighth, shortstop, number 21.
for Endicott in the top of the seventh. Montereza replaced Wisniewski in the lineup, and he also replaces him at short. Around the rest of the diamond, everything is looking as it was for Trinity. That ball catches the lower part of the zone, now 0-1.
For Hans, he got out to a quick start last inning, got 2 outs before walked a couple and then allowed a run to come around. So Got the quick first out on first pitch swinging from Perkins, and now ahead in the count here. We'll see if he can finish off the inning like he was unable to do so last time out as he really starts to find his rhythm.
Ball shot over to the left side hole, and Blake Johnson tries to pick it up, unable to do so, and reaching on an error will be Matt McKinley, shortstop for the Goals, to bring up
Now batting number 34, Christopher Webster.
Christopher Webster. Pinch hitter here for Endicott.
Kind of with the way this one's going, it's allowing both managers to get a look at a couple different players than for the Tigers have played up to this point, and for the Goals may have a chance to impact the season going forward.
Freshman from Longmeadow, Massachusetts, with a shot down the third baseline, and trying to make a big play on it was Blake Johnson, but I'm pretty sure that Christopher Webster is going to get a base hit in his collegiate debut, and then he's also going to get a little free pass down to second base.
Top of
That
the order,
ball
second baseman number 18,
goes into
Kristen
the
Allaire.
tarp.
It was interesting that Tucker felt he could stretch for that one. It was pretty far wide of first base on the throw across. At some point, first baseman there, you might want to cut your losses and come off the bag and just make sure it doesn't come back into this tarp like it did and allow the runner to advance to second.
Yeah, not just the fact that it was off the bat. I mean, it felt like Webster was there in plenty of time, and I felt like Tucker should have sensed that and just come off the bag for it. But nonetheless, this runner's at second and third instead of first and third because the heads-up base running puts the runner on. Now Tucker will scoop this one. He'll take it himself. The run will score, but the Tigers get the out. And at this point, Tigers will make that trade and be two down here in the seventh.
RBI, Christian Allaire.
So as Allaire is retired, it'll bring us back to the 2 spot, and Cacciola.
Number 2 slot, center fielder number 2, Dan Cacciola.
1 for 3 on the day is Cacciola. Senior from Saugus, Massachusetts, takes strike 1. Shot at Tucker. Fields it cleanly. Hands covers. Record the putout. That'll be it for the 7th. Another run comes across for Endicott. They cut the
For the
lead back
Goals,
down to
top of
8.
the 7th inning, 1 run, 1
14
hit.
to 6 Tigers when we return. It's stretch time here in San Antonio. Stretch time over here in San Antonio, and stepping up, bottom of the 7th for the Tigers. Blake Johnson playing third base today. And for Johnson, takes called strike one. 1 for 3 on the day. Run scored and 3 RBI. Started off his day with a walk with the bases loaded. Then had a 2 RBI single. All that happening in the second inning. Since then, he struck out. And then he had the infield fly roll. And a pop up to first base. Another little fly ball pop up. This one won't carry very far. John Duffy out in right field will make easy work of it. There'll be one down here in the inning as Joseph Brown's out there beginning his second inning of work.
Batting eighth, left fielder number 10, Jack Vonderhaar.
I'll bring up Jack Vonderhaar. Unless looks like Trinity keeping some of the starters out there for an extended period. Vonderhaar 1 for 3 on the day. Run scored and an RBI.
For Tigers was the other day when Mason Meredith recorded 8 outfield putouts, and Duffy's already up to that number out there in right field. Still a couple to go as this one will be an easy flip to the first baseman, and the Tigers have 2 down.
Batting ninth, center fielder number 15, Mason
I'll
Meredith.
bring up Meredith, as you were just talking about. For Meredith, though, 3 for 4 yesterday. 3 for 4 again here today. You hit 750 in back-to-back games. That'll get your season going. Not going all the way through was that check swing, but it did go far enough. Be 0-1. Brown working rather quickly, doing a great job of it. Now 0-2, 2 down here in the bottom of the 7th, and it's the fastest that anybody's looked through the Tigers to this point since the opening frame back in the first inning.
And the last 1-2-3 inning for the goals back in that first. That was the top of the order. A chance here for Brown to retire the bottom 3 in order. But Meredith very much the toughest nut to crack in this Tiger lineup so far for opposition pitching.
Wakely over to short, and it'll be a 1-2-3 inning for Endicott. And their first since the first inning. We'll head to the 8th. They're down 8.
For the Tigers
We'll
in
be
the
back
bottom
on
of
the
the
Tiger
seventh
Network in a
inning, no
moment.
runs.
Top of the 8th inning. Pitching change here for the Tigers. It'll be Matt Thomas. Thomas we expected to see tomorrow as the Tigers starter. Obviously, that probably not going to be the case as he makes an appearance here in the 8th inning. And he'll be going up against Brennan McDonald, the catcher. Quickly behind now 0-2 to Thomas.
Kind of makes you speculate as to what the decision will be for tomorrow's starter. Obviously, a lot of different options. It's still a very important game tomorrow, so I just hate to throw out the shoulders and say who knows.
Blake Johnson's rough day will continue. He'll get charged with a throwing error on that one. Tucker tried to reach out and snag it, but unable to do so. Blake Johnson making a good play there defensively, and he's just got a few things to work on. But the first year, obviously,
Batting fourth, right fielder
losing a
number
little bit of
13,
focus
John
here
Duffy.
in the later part of this game.
Certainly not the best throw, but I think if you asked John Tucker over at first, it would be one he'd like to have back. Could have maybe moved his feet a little bit, try and get that toe on the corner and just get those extra inches on the stretch. It probably would have helped him make the catch.
Yeah, Tucker not your prototypical first baseman. Right-handed, and he's under 6 foot. That one smoked out into left field. Tigers are shading more towards center, so quickly on it, Christian Jordan moving from first to third and then
Double for
following
John Duffy.
into second with a double is going to be John Duffy.
Right now for the Tigers, you're just trying to avoid making this game interesting, right? You're in the 8th inning. You've got a comfortable 8-run lead. Just make sure it stays that way. Make sure it seems that one scale very much in favor of the Tigers, because all of a sudden, if you just give up 2-3 runs in an inning, I think it's a little interesting, and that's exactly what you don't want.
Yeah, I think you're always fine until you're one pitch away from this game being tied, and they are a long way away from that. But to that point, Endicott doing what they need to do to get that started. Got runners on second and third, nobody out. Kyle Brennan steps in. Brennan 2 for 3 on the day.
You'd expect this is a situation where, you want to try and pitch the 8th and the 9th inning. I think if you're Thomas, you want to finish this game out. And in order to do that, you need to make sure that you are getting the guys out, that you are at least getting productive outs. And, it's a little bit of tough luck, I think, on that first play ball towards the third baseman. That should be the first out of the inning. Doesn't go as such. And then a hustle double there to set up second and third. This is an important at-bat right now to make sure that you at least get one out, even if it costs you a run. It takes some of the stress, I think, out of this 8th inning.
For Thomas, his third appearance on the season. That one rolls to the backstop. Runner's going to advance. 14-7 now. And for Thomas, he started the Sunday game against Birmingham Southern last week, but he's only got 4 1/3 innings pitched in 2 appearances. He's given up 11 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned. 6 strikeouts, though, 3 walks. The Ks per 9 look really good at 12.46. The problem is that's also his ERA. And so, Coach Scannell out there too. Probably tell Matt just to calm down, enjoy the day, have fun going up there and battle, and to relax.
It's always interesting that the messages that you get, in a 1-run game in a situation like this, and a 7-run game in a situation like this, and there's a level of strategy, and there's also a level of teaching that goes into these sorts of things. And obviously, it's not a high leverage situation, but it's an important situation because I think Thomas is an important player, and these important games don't necessarily take place in February. But if you're able to teach, that's, I think, just as valuable.
So Brandon flies out to left field, and that'll be a sac fly.
RBI Kyle Brennan.
Now it's 14-8. Endicott, the run in the 6th, run in the 7th, now 2 here in the 8th. 1 down now. Be a pinch hitter, number 23.
Now batting number
Oh, excuse
24,
me.
Brendan
Number
Quigley.
24, Brandon Quigley, sophomore from Braintree, Massachusetts.
I mean, how can you not, if you're Endicott, look at that second inning and sort of wonder what if? I mean, the
Yeah.
explosion of walks and the hit batter and the runs you feel like you gave away. I mean, 5 walks and a hit batter, that's going to result in 3 runs. So take 3 off the board for the Tigers, and now it's an 11-8 game, and that just feels very different.
Oh, it feels very competitive. I mean, you look and you're saying, hey, we started the inning down 8, and we've cut it to 6, so you feel good about that, but then it hits you. You're still down 6. So, yeah, if you take away that second inning, that one will prompt a visit from Goodrich. Count now 3-0 to Quigley. You take away that second inning, I mean, it's very doable here. And the surprising thing about the second inning was after such a impressive start from Burke, that the second inning just sort of was like, well, what was that? He went 1-2-3 against the Tigers, 1-2-3 leadoff hitters, and then just could not find a strike at all in the second inning.
Right. I think that's what makes it tough to a certain extent to evaluate this game. You know, if the scoreline ends up holding, which when you look at all the cricket numbers on the scoreboard, I wouldn't even bank on that.
Now, this one definitely has the feeling of a game that's got more runs to give. And Quigley's going to look to be the next one to cross home as he draws the walk. I'll bring up
Batting
Perkins.
7th, designated hitter number 33, Nicholas Perkins.
Perkins 1 for 3 on the day. Perkins, though, 0 for 5 yesterday. Started off his 2019 campaign with 4 straight strikeouts. But that is behind him as he singles into left center. And Quigley alertly going first to third on that one.
Base hit for Nicholas
Talk
Perkins.
about it. It's one of those things where your job for Thomas was to come in and just make sure that this one didn't get close. He gives up a bomb here, and he won't have a chance to, as the pitching change will happen. But if Trinity gives up a home run here, it's a 3-run game, and that's a completely different afternoon from what you saw.
Pinch runner number 22, Ryan
Thacker
Prosser
coming in
for the
for
Gulls.
the Tigers, and we'll be back in just a moment. New pitcher for the Tigers will be Arjun
Now
Thacker,
batting number
the
15,
freshman
Benjamin
out of
Skinner.
Sugarland, Texas. I mean, he came on last Saturday to take out the two final batters against Birmingham Southern. James Tolley went 8 1/3. Got a walk and a strikeout. So 13.5 Ks per 9. And the hitter for the goals will be Benjamin Skinner, and the freshman from Cheshire, Connecticut, step in with runners on the corners. And that will be no more, as that will be spiked at the plate, and Endicott has cut the lead down to 5 as the runner will advance in and also move over to second.
Yeah, Skinner came into the game yesterday, was the pinch hitter asked to lay down a sacrifice bunt in a pretty key situation, and he wound up striking out. And now, the pass ball, the wild pitch, I should say, and a runner in scoring position, it makes the job a little bit easier for Skinner, but it's still an important situation because I feel every run that Endicott scores is an important run.
I think realistically, they came in this inning down 8. I think if you're trying to get your head around it, if you could score 5 here in the 8th inning, that sets you up. If you can get the Tigers out without giving up a run, that sets you up for a chance. Now, obviously, if they can score more, they'd love to. But I think the key number is they've got to try to get to 5, because mentally you look at it saying, hey, we've got a striking chance if we're only down 3 going to the 9th. Freshman from Tigers misses with first base open. Skinner will take the walk. Tigers just cannot get out of this 8th inning. It's almost like Endicott's inning in the 2nd.
Well, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. The 14 runs, the 12 hits, that obviously looks pretty sexy, but when you think about this being the number 4 team in the country, this has been an incredibly sloppy performance. And thank goodness it's the type of performance that's happening in February, because if you can imagine this happening in May in a tournament game, you would think that the Tigers would be getting trounced with a performance like this.
Tigers will go to the pin once again. They'll bring in the flamethrower Ian Hushin. We'll catch you up on Hushin when we return in just a moment. It'll be the 3rd appearance here for Ian Hushin in 2019. He's gone 5 1/3, given up 6 hits, 4 runs, all earned. He's walked 1 and struck out 7, and given up a home run on the season so far. ERA stands at 6.75. He is a pretty big strikeout guy, and that's largely due to the fact that he'll hit 92 to 94 on the radar gun. First pitch is going to be called strike 1. as Chris Webster stands in there against Hushin.
I think Hushin has a chance to be one of the most important players on this Tiger team in determining, how successful their season is in terms of his flexibility out of the bullpen, because I think he's a prime candidate to be a closer. I think he can be a closer that can pitch 2 innings. I think if you absolutely needed it, you could bring him in the 5th inning and ask him to get perhaps 3. He makes a nice play there, but you talk about the velocity as well, 92 to 94. It's not like every team has a guy in their bullpen that could potentially reach the mid-90s. So if he's able to throw strikes and if he's able to get confidence and get big strikeouts, kind of like you're referencing, just imagine the situations he could come in and thrive if he gets those jobs done.
Yeah, and for Hushin, a kid that as a freshman was given all the confidence in the world, he started the national championship final game against Keystone in the final series. He comes in here now as a senior. The idea of him being a starting pitcher is probably behind him. As you mentioned earlier, looking at that closing role. And he's a guy that I think, for 2 innings, he can be electric. And he can give you everything that you possibly need. And kind of getting a good look here.
Well, and I think every coach in the offseason and in the beginning part of the season, they're trying to pencil in their guys that they know, okay, this is who I'm going to use in these situations. I don't need to worry about this. We talk a lot. Is this ball is going to drop for a base hit, 1 run's going to score, and a strong throw from the outfield is going to be wide of the mark, and 2 runs will score. It's a single and advancing on the throw. And like you said, there you go. 2 more runs come home to score.
So there's that 5 that I was talking about. And I think now mentally, you could hear the dugout there from Endicott. They are excited. They feel like they've got a chance here.
Number 2 slots under
14 to
fielder number
11.
2, Dan Cacciola.
Yeah, Cacciola stepping back in now for the goals, with still a runner in scoring position.
But to wrap up the point I was saying before, we talk about Chomet being the number 3 hitter for this team, right? So if you're Tim Scannell, you don't worry about that. If he's healthy, he's batting 3rd.
Chopper not going to get him on the throw is the new shortstop Montereza. He let that one come to him a little bit. Probably not a bad play, but with Cacciola running and with Endicott amped up like this, those are some of the types of plays that I think you just got to be able to come in and make.
Now batting number 11.
A few more reps, a little more playing time. That's one. You're exactly right. A high chopper. He had to back up on it, did Montreza. Fielded it cleanly with some pretty crazy topspin, so that was a nice play. But once it's in the glove, you can't pump. You just have to field it and then throw on your back foot, even if it takes a hop. It's a matter of getting it out of your hand. And he just kind of did a little clutch, and that's the 2nd ball now that Cacciola has beaten out in this game.
Well, here's something crazy. It was 14 to 5 at one point, and Endicott has the tying run at the plate. And that'll be Christian Jordan, the sophomore outfielder from Holden, Mass. And how did we get to this point? I think we've talked about it quite a bit. Pitchers just not throwing strikes. But there is a strike from Hushin, now 1-1.
And really, it's been a lot of small ball, you would think, from the goals. Right? We haven't seen them tattooing balls off the wall. Ground balls that have found holes through the infield, fly balls that have found the gaps in the outfield.
Runner goes, swing and a miss. It'll be 1-2, but got another runner in scoring position with 2 down, so if you put the ball into play and it finds the area down there in the gap somewhere, even a single could bring this to a 1-run game.
This is what we've seen now systematically throughout this game, right? They have 1st and 3rd, or runner at 1st. With 2 outs, let's put him in motion. Let's get him into scoring position, and if the goals execute, 1 run becomes 2.
Jordan calls for time, and it's granted. Hushin's still just standing there ready to go. 0-2. Called strike 3. Ian Hushin with a big strikeout to get the Tigers out of the jam. But Endicott scores 5 in the top of the 8th. They've cut the 8-run
For the
lead
Goals,
down to
top half of
3.
the
It's
eighth inning,
14-11
5 runs,
for
4
Trinity.
hits. There
We'll
were
be
2
back in a
errors,
moment.
2 players left off.
Top of the order, bottom of the 8th inning. Logan Morrison there for Trinity. Still Joseph Brown, who has been effective since coming in. Back out there for his 3rd inning of work. And the first pitch missing for ball 1. And we talked about it throughout the day, just not finding the strike zone. It's now 2-0. You know, you're really just working against yourself. And that's not going to help. You just hit Logan Morrison there. We have a runner on first. You know, at this level, most of the guys are hitting around 270. So roughly 3 out of every 4 times they come to the bat, they find a way to get themselves out. And if you throw strikes, you've got a good chance to get out of innings.
Number 1, Rafe Showman.
One guy you might not want to throw strikes against is Rafe Shamet, as we see him for the first time in a week. Shamet coming in as a designated hitter. Mentioned earlier, not a serious injury, but one that you don't want to aggravate long term.
It'd be interesting to see. Obviously, this looks like a scenario where Chomet will just maybe pinch hit if he gets on. You see if they decide to have a pinch runner for him. But regardless, it is refreshing to see him in that batter's box, bat in hand, because one of the most dynamic players that has probably come through this program in the last 10, 15 years.
First pitch swinging, and he misses it, but he floats it out into the left. Fighting off the sun and coming in for that one is Christian Jordan. And he's able to make the put out now. One down here at the bottom of the 8th.
Number 4, John Tucker.
Well, you're just right. He just missed it. That was a pitch up in the zone, and Chomet very capable of hitting to all fields, but just didn't have that sound of ball hitting barrel. A little bit underneath it. Oh, man. I bet he wishes he had that swing back. Yeah, it was a good pitch to hit.
Yeah, and so much of baseball is repetition. Sitting for the last week, probably not helping his cause. Strike 1 now to John Tucker. If you're the Tigers, you're looking for a little bit of insurance runs here. Cannot be satisfied with what happened here in the top half of the frame. Definitely don't want to be looking at having to play in the bottom of the 9th for any reason whatsoever. Throw back on Morrison. He's back in rather easily.
You know, with a player of Hushin's caliber, there's still the strong belief that a 3-run lead, plenty going into the 9th inning. But But for the goals, and we'll probably reiterate this in the bottom half, getting the leadoff man on for them is going to be almost paramount.
Hot chopper to third, goes over to second to get the lead run. Morrison's retired on Tucker's fielder's choice. And for Endicott, at some point, if they don't come back and win this game, the level of frustration is just going to be very high because they played a very good game here. They had a lull offensively in the third through the fifth innings. They've scored in 5 out of their 8 innings so far. But that second inning just absolutely took a lot out of them. And it took them 3 innings to get back.
Hey, listen, if the Tigers don't score in this inning, both teams will have scored in 5 out of their 8 innings. But the big difference is that second inning for the Tigers. I mean, that's the game right there when you look at it. And it's I know we've sounded like a broken record, but that's pretty much it. 5 walks and a hit batter, 3 runs. It's a 3-run game. There you go.
Goodrich steps in now. He's been on base all 5 times. He's 2 for 2 with 3 walks. Takes strike 1. I have been surprised a little bit, though, the way that the wind has been blowing out, that we haven't seen anything closer than the warning track shot that we had to left field. And this one won't reach midway into left, and the Tigers will go down in the 8th. We'll see if they can shut the door in the
For the
9th.
Tigers at the bottom of the 8th inning, no runs.
Top of the 9th inning, down 3, and if you're Endicott, right where you want it. 4-5-6. John Duffy to lead off against Ian Hushin. And we'll see if what we were talking about, Hushin coming in for 2 strong innings, will hold up. First pitch swinging. Duffy will send this one sky high. The covering will be Blake Johnson, and quickly retired is Duffy. Fantastic day in the outfield, but a frustrating 9th inning at bat there for him.
First baseman number 12,
That's tough for
Kyle
Endicott. I understand on the one hand, if you have a first pitch fastball and you think it's in a part of the zone that you can really drive and do damage, you want to be on top of it. But in a game filled with inaccuracy, to go after the first pitch as the leadoff hitter, I don't know if that's the best strategy either. It's one of those things where if he ropes a double, it works out perfectly. But when you pop out to third, you kind of look the fool in that situation.
Yeah, in a game when so many have reached freely off of walks, I'd kind of want you just to work the count as much as possible.
And Duffy, I think from an Endicott perspective, Duffy has been the best player by far when you look at his all-around game. 3 3 for 6 now. A couple of really great plays. The diving catch, obviously, down the line to start the double play. I don't think you can find a player with more confidence than the way Duffy has played. So I trust your stuff in that situation and maybe use a pitch or two to sort of get your timing down. But again, it's a lot easier to make those sorts of criticisms after the fact.
Kyle Brennan stepping in here. 1-2 count now for Brennan. You know, Hushin, I think this is what Coach Scano at least has probably been screaming about for 7 innings. Just throw strikes. And he's come in and he's looked the part so far.
It looked like a bit of an injury there for Brennan on that swing. He was grimacing almost immediately afterwards. And I don't know if that was a situation where he fouled off the pitch or when he swung, the ball hit his hand, which would obviously still be a foul ball. They're taking a look at his left hand.
Maybe the left arm, left elbow, in the wrist area. It looks to be okay.
Unfortunately, like you said, wonderful weather here today. A great turnout for this game. Imagine trying to wear one of those off the fingers on a 30-degree night. Makes me shiver.
The only chance you have is that if you can get it cold enough, you don't even feel it.
Yeah, that's a great feeling.
1-2 from Hushin, and this one up the middle. Morrison struggles playing that one. It looked like a weird in-between hop on him. They're going to give that an error.
Kind of an awkward distance, you're absolutely right, and that's one where you've got to commit to either one or the other. Not too dissimilar from the play we saw with Montreza over at short, but if you're going to come in off the bat, try and get it on that short hop or make the catch on the fly. If you're going to back up, know that once you get it, you have very little time. You've just got to get it out of the glove and just throw it in the vicinity of first.
Batting sixth, third baseman number 24.
Throw the
Brendan
runner
Quigley.
on. Hushin misses, now 1-0.
And if you're Hushin, you got to just turn off the noise that is that runner at first. I mean, don't be completely irresponsible and just give him second base. But that run, it does not matter. It really doesn't. So throwing strikes, using your fastball to overpower some of these hitters, that's going to be the thing that leads you to success. And being distracted by whatever is happening over at first, that only jeopardizes that plan.
And for Quigley now, count 1-2. The job is simple. Just go up there and find a way to get on base. Didn't say it was easy, but it is simple. For Hushin, he's going to look to bring that low 90s heat, but he comes in with the breaking ball there. Quigley fouls it off.
And if that's a situation where the breaking ball is used to try and elevate the stuff of the fastball, I think that's a phenomenal pitch. But with Hushin here now, 1-2, a fastball in on his hands, I don't see a chance of Quigley turning it around.
But he left that one out over the plate, and Quigley does get a hold of that one. And the tying run has come to the plate for Endicott.
I've spent the last couple of years, working at the AA level, and I've got to pick up some great nuggets from pitching coaches working with players. And even at that level, they see guys throwing mid to upper 90s, but they're afraid to pitch inside. They're afraid to make hitters uncomfortable. That pitch in the middle to the outer part of the plate, that allows a guy like Quigley to extend his hands and get the barrel to the ball a little bit later, thus getting power and driving it to the opposite field. In on his hands, that's a jam shot. That's a pop-up or a weak ground ball.
Pinch hitter here for Endicott's going to be Anthony Macchia. Macchia was 0 for 3 yesterday, starting out in left field. And I think you're absolutely right. It's really got to be about the want to go after the hitter, and you're going to have to make some tough pitches. Makia rolls that one foul. Now 0-2.
A pitch a little up in the zone, in on the hands, and you could see Maki trying to pull his hands in and get around it. But, hey, it might be a simple explanation, but it's certainly not easy, to sort of echo what you were saying before.
Well, it's so hard to get the barrel of the bat out in front of you on an inside pitch like that. If it's outside, you can just kind of throw the bat out there, and you can be late on a pitch and still send it somewhere fair. That one gets away from Goodrich, but the runner's quickly retreating back. I think Brennan immediately knew when he hesitated that he had missed his chance. And that's a big opportunity there for Endicott miss, because if they could have put runners on second and third, base hit has the ability to draw this to within a single run. Now 1-2 to Makia. Sends a sharp line drive foul.
And this is where I think if you're Hushin now, again, staying kind of on that inside track, start moving up the ladder. Start getting that fastball a little bit higher, maybe around the letters, and trust that he will not be able to elevate and celebrate.
As that one breaking ball misses down. Now 2-2. You still have a ball to work with here, so if you want to miss inside, you can totally miss inside and still be okay. Got cheering from both teams going on here. I think the confidence level of all 50 guys out here on the diamond are at the peak level, except for maybe Hushin now as he skips that one in off the dirt, runs count full. And I think the one thing you don't want to do is send up the go-ahead run to the plate. He's a double play ball away from ending this. He's a ball 4 away from having probably a mound visit here. He misses inside, and that'll load the bases for Endicott. And Dave Smith will, well, he's up off his chair. And there he comes.
So, you had him 1-2, and that's when he went with the curveball that was in the dirt. And that's a pitch that started at the knees and then finished low. And there's a phrase that's kind of tossed around, you know, competitive pitches and uncompetitive pitches. And it's okay to miss outside the zone, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a pitch that is supposed to entice a hitter. I mean, if you want to throw a fastball that's around the eye level of a batter because you want to set up then another fastball that's right at the knees on the outside corner, that's a competitive pitch, the one that's out of the zone. But there was a breaking ball in the dirt, and then a fastball that missed in the dirt, and then another fastball that missed inside. So you're not really setting anything up, and you're not really throwing pitches that are going to entice the hitter to swing. And that's how you just take a 1-2 count, a pitcher's advantage, and you just kind of throw it away.
So now with the bases loaded, it's going to be Benjamin Skina, freshman. Couldn't get a bigger opportunity than this right here.
And if you're the Tigers and a player like Skina, the only way he should be able to get on base is because he swings, makes contact, and gets that ball through somehow.
Hushin comes back with a strike. Got Jeff Loneker warming up for the Tigers if they need him. And you've also got action here right below us in the Endicott bullpen as they are anticipating needing to pitch in the bottom of the ninth. Skina at Morrison goes to second, and it's not even, they're going to say he got the out, and he lost it on the transfer. It'll be 2 down here, and a run scores to make it 14-12.
Oh, boy. That's a tough call right there.
That's a tough call. Live, I did not see that on the transfer. It didn't look like he fielded it cleanly. And that's Blake Johnson over there at short moving over as MJ Metz is coming to the game at third base.
You know, typically on the transfer, you see either a bobble or the ball just kind of float up and out like it was dropped. That was a situation where The shortstop had to reach towards the outfield side of second base to make the catch, and as he was bringing it to his hands, it looked like it kind of, slung out of his glove a little bit and trickled away. There's a difference between that. That's not part of the transfer, right? You've got to secure it in the glove, and what a big break for the Tigers.
Yeah, I think it was basically he's like, did you see anything different? And I don't know if the home plate umpire is going to be able to see that any differently. He's got different responsibilities where he's looking. And so it's an unfortunate situation for Endicott. Trinity will definitely take it, and we might get the substitution. We will. It's going to be Jeff Loneker to come in for the save. Ian Hushin will depart, and we'll catch you up on Loneker in just a moment. For Jeff Loneker, his second appearance on the season. He's 1-0, 3 innings pitched. Gave up 3 hits and a run, struck out 2. Last year, 14 appearances, had a 1.9 ERA, 68 strikeouts, and 47.1 innings pitched. That was good for a strikeouts per 9, just under 13. Loneker definitely coming into his own last year as a junior, but now as a senior. High expectations from the coaching staff. Probably none bigger here as he comes in. Save situation against Endicott.
Just start with strike one and work your way from there. It is so much easier as a pitcher being ahead 0-1 as opposed to falling behind 1-0.
And there you go. Nice opening strike to Webster. Webster's job is just to extend the inning in any way possible. If you reach on a pass ball for strike 3, you reach on a pass ball for strike 3. Loneker may be worrying about the runners a bit too much in this situation.
Well, I can understand not wanting the tying run in scoring position. We've seen Endicott run quite a bit with 2 outs and a runner at first base.
That one missing just low, now 1-1.
It's a risk v reward situation. Goodrich has not had a lot of success this year throwing guys out at second base. The Tiger pitchers haven't kept runners close, so it's kind of a lose-lose there. But again, if you get this guy at the plate, those guys don't matter.
Loneker's fastball a little bit low there as well, now behind 2-1. I think if you're Loneker here, you just got to go in there and just feel comfortable. Just groove one down. Doesn't look entirely comfortable, now 3-1.
I don't think we've seen a Tiger pitcher comfortable since James Natoli threw his last warm-up pitch to start the game.
It has been a rough go. Now, when Natoli came out after the Tigers played at 9 in the second inning, when he came out for the third inning, he looked comfortable for the first few pitches. That one fouled off, and we got a full count, so the runner will take off here from first. And if you're Webster, a base hit, goodness, Endicott fans got to be on the edge of their seat here hoping for a base hit.
Interesting. Tucker's going to hold that runner on at first base. It'd be key for him to snap off the bag and get into a good fielding position.
Fouled off back, and we'll do it again. Two teams will be at it again tomorrow at noon. That feels like it's only a few hours away. This game started at 2 o'clock. Dragging on now. That one floated, foul, up near us. Shadows are getting long here at the ballpark. Endicott looking to push it forward. I'd love to see nighttime here and still playing baseball. Strike 3, looking, and that will do it. Jeff Loneker comes in for the save, and the Tigers escape 14-12 victory.
Goals, top of the ninth inning, 1 run, 1 hit. There was 1 error, 2 players left on. The final score, Trinity 14, Endicott 12.
Oh, Trinity will take the series now as they've taken the first 2 games here. But I'm sure that the meeting after the game from Coach Scannell will be one of focus, importance, trying to figure out what we're doing out here. And for Endicott, we'll see them tomorrow. It looked much better here late in this game. And see if they can find a solution to maybe pick up a victory here in Texas before they head back, or if it'll be a Tiger sweep. Chris, your thoughts today?
I think we kind of hammered the points home a little bit. You know, at this level, there is an expectation that when you bring in guys to pitch, that they have the ability to throw strikes. And I think if you're going to go down, you want to go down because you put your best stuff out there, and the other guys were just able to hit it, and they were able to execute, and they were able to do those things. You know, for the Tigers, they gave up, and I'd have to just double check right here, but, you know, they gave up 6 walks. They have 6 errors. That's just the type of performance that you expect in the fall when you are perhaps just trying to get back into fitness, just get back into shape a little bit. That's not what you expect for a team that's already had 2 series. And for Endicott, you give them a little bit of slack. Obviously, this is still their first series of the year. They're on the road. My God, what a first opponent to face, you know, a top 5 team in the country. But again, to lose because, you know, you give up double-digit walks, you're hitting batters. To me, that if you're a coach, that's inexcusable to see that from your players. So I think win or lose for these teams tomorrow, if they see a cleaner performance, that will feel like a victory. That'll feel like something to get them back on track. But you know what? For the Tigers, I think as critical as we've been, they did win. You know, they did score 14 runs. They were disciplined at the plate. And the fact of the matter is, you know, they only have 1 loss on the season. So you got to tip your cap to them. And you had probably the worst game of the year, and you still won. So that's how you should look at it afterwards. I would expect from Coach Scannell probably a little bit of fire and fury in the post-game talk, but you know what? That's what good players do and good teams do. You just flush it and you move on to the next one.
For James Natoli, he goes 5 innings, allows 4 runs, but he picks up the win. He improves to 3-0. Jeff Loneker comes in, gets the final out of the game on a strikeout, and he'll pick up the save. For Logan Morrison, 2 for 4, 3 RBI, a pair of runs scored. And Michael Goodrich, 2 for 3. 3 runs scored, 2 RBI. Dallas Bender, 2 for 5, and a run scored and an RBI. And Mason Meredith, 3 for 5, 2 runs scored and an RBI. We are back at it again, noontime Central tomorrow, and we'll play the final game of this series. Thank you for joining us. For all of our student assistants, for Chris and Ryan, I'm Josh Mitchgamba. Thank you for tuning in today. Have a good day.